Aloha, my name is Nancy Kerner, and I'm a holistic health practitioner, author, intuitive, and facilitator of women's circles and retreats for over 3 decades. I love my family and witnessing people break the shackles of fear and pain into love, prosperity, peace, and infinite possibilities.
Executive order is the fuck around and find out order, also known as the FAFO. This order is for everyone who fucked around and will now find out.
Hold it. This is a good one. Is everybody listening?
You thought you could bend a knee, but not be a slave. You thought you could build a monster and make it behave. You thought you'd sell out your country for a house seat and internet clout. You thought you could fuck around, but avoid ever having to find out. You fucked around, now you're finding out. You fucked around, now you're finding out. You fucked around, now you're finding out. You fucked around. You thought you could toast billionaires, but retain your working class cred. You thought as you marched to plutocrats' drums, they would still do anything you said. You let the leopards enter the city and didn't warn your voters with a shout. You promised no matter how you fucked around, no one else would ever have to find out. You fucked around, now you're finding out. You fucked around, now you're finding out. Oh, you fucked around, now you're finding out. You fucked around. You roused a nation from sleep to anger by turning your jobs over to bloated fools. You spent decades speaking of rule of law, but now say only others must play by the rules. You thought juvenile memes could win you the day, and never worried you were betting with louts. But after a decade of your fucking around, the time has come for all of you to find out. You fucked around, now you're finding out. You fucked around, now you're finding out. Oh, you fucked around, now you're finding out. You fucked around. You fucked around, now you're finding out. You fucked around, now you're finding out. Oh, you fucked around, now you're finding out. You fucked around, now find out. You fucked around, now you're finding out. You fucked around, now you're finding out. Oh, you fucked around, now you're finding out. You fucked around. Now find out. Now find out.
Rome, an empire at war. A liberator boldly crosses the Rubicon, confronting entrenched power. Endless foreign wars, overextending a nation in decline. These are the lessons for the Empire of the United States of America. History stands clothed in a garment of warnings, heralding the fall of another republic, and extends an invitation for us to ascend out of destruction towards our destiny of freedom, as envisioned by our founding fathers. Take the road less traveled. Arm yourselves with wisdom of history.
Aloha, everyone. Not sure why I'm not full view.
I don't either. I apologize. It's strange. It's very strange. And when I try to hit big screen, it takes you totally off. So we'll just leave it.
Okay. Aloha, everyone. Welcome, welcome. It's so good to see all of you today. Oh my goodness. Wow, wow, wow is all I can say. How many of you are just feeling like you're in drip, drip, drip flood? This is the greatest awakening ever to hit mankind. This is an opportunity for us together to expect miracle after miracle after miracle. My name is Nancy Kerner, and I'm a holistic health practitioner. And this is the Prosperity Playground. Welcome. This is where the CPR begin with love, give love in the middle, and end with love for my context, purpose, and results for living my life one day at a time. And in this case, one precious moment at a time. So very exciting. Allison, I'm seeing on the left side of my screen inside StreamYards, they have some demo screens, and I'm wondering if those might have to do with it. Maybe I'll just put mine off to the side. But anyway.
Not seeing that, but I am going to log out and log back in and see if that has any effect to it.
Okay, beautiful. So while she's doing that, oh my goodness. Yes, Marianne says it's hard to keep up with everything happening. Feels like 2020 awakening all over again. Yes, and this time for the public who is in deep, deep denial. Oh my goodness. My beautiful friends are praying for me. They think there we go. They think I have lost my mind. And what I would like to say to you is, yeah, pray for me. And I'm holding that you are in the beginning stages of ending the denial of the MSNBC news media, the lies. And as we are seeing, everything on MSM is going down or shifting the narrative. And as we know from the military coordinated digital warriors and information, the Q drops, the news unlocks the drops. And so even though a lot of this is already happening, now it's into public disclosure form. And there is nothing more satisfying to me, and perhaps to you, our viewers, who have been with us on this journey and taken your own deep dives into the corruption. We are watching the fall of the globalist corruption that has dominated the United States geopolitical realm worldwide. And now it is crashing. It is completely going down. It is the most amazing thing that we have ever seen. And so this is going to kick off a flood of news, which, just now I was watching that Trump had the UK Prime Minister in his, what do you call it, press conference. And they're talking about having a meeting with the king. Some of us know the king is not there sitting on a throne. He is not. So the exposure that's coming out is completely amazing. It's a miracle. I mean, if you don't believe in a power greater than yourself by now, I think that everybody's going to be hitting their knees and saying, oh my God, what is going on right now? And yet for those of us who've been studying, me almost 4 decades, have the Great Awakening in bits and pieces. And the last 10 years has been a flood, and the last 5 years has been over the top. And we all agree, who are talking together, that this needed to happen. The election needed to be shown as fraud in 2020. We need to see the connection between these elites, their pedophile running rings. Oh, beautiful, Allison. Way to go. Woohoo. Okay, not that I need to see myself, but it's just like, you're watching a show. You want to see the full show. So Yahoo, whatever you did. Allison, I'm so grateful for her because, I'm like up really late at night. And I'll say, did you see such and such? She'll say, yeah, you sent it at like 12 midnight or something. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And it's a flood. It's a flood. So these are the miracles. I wish I could share everything with you. And I'm grateful for Allison to having my back when I'm just like flooding her while she's sleeping, hopefully at night. And yet here we are. We're in a brand new day. And so I want to welcome Bud. And wow, Bud, pretty exciting news. Mark Z is just really believing that we're right there on the cusp. It's so exciting. So could this be our weekend? It's quite possible. Will Ramadan stop the RV? No. Parliament has released a statement saying that the Iraqi government will continue working during Ramadan. So those of you who are on the edge of your seats, I know I've talked to a couple of women who are just hanging on by their fingernails financially. So one was talking about selling her currency, and I said, can you just hold on till Monday? Let's see what happens between now and Monday. And I believe Monday, when is the 4th, Allison? I'm thinking, let's see, tomorrow's the 28th. So
Tuesday?
it could be Monday or Tuesday. So,
Not long.
did you see? Okay. So, as you can tell, I'm just like, I'm almost shaking with excitement and anticipation. So much happening. So welcome, Colleen in Canada, the Crystal Lady Creations, Marianne from New Jersey, and Rich. Welcome, Rich. He says, Gene Hackman, wait, this solution proposition advert, does next weekend kick off Hackman effect? You mean like suicide weekend, as we were told in the drops? It's starting to look that way, isn't it? Especially when you see the connections of where his house was in New Mexico in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's house. And we'll talk about all of that. We'll get into it. So what is important for all of us to be prepared for is that as we reach the climax of the script in the movie at some point here, will Pam Bondi actually release the files today, as she said? Will we be moving into an EBS? Not sure. None of us can predict that. March Madness is in the Q drops many times. So whatever we're heading into, just prepared for the March Madness. Aloha, Ravenheart 17. Prayers to your beautiful mother and your father in love. I haven't been able to keep up with what's going on there. Congratulations on your beautiful grandbaby, your grandson. Aloha to, well, of course, Clearly Wellness, which is Allison. So we have a bunch of information to share with you today. But first, I just want us to all just remember, this is an information war that has been going on ever since the television came out and the governments took over hundreds of years ago. It's gone on longer than that. And yet, this is the collapse of the United States corrupt, evil empire. And there's nothing that needs to be said other than our taxpayer money has been funding everything except for helping we the people. So as we're going to go through the news and updates today, please remember that this fight in my heart and my belief isn't about us against them in the people's movement, whatever your beliefs are. This is against this empire that has ruled for far too long, usurping our energy, poisoning our food supply, our medical system, a huge amount of corrupt NGOs that are not supposed to be government organizations, and they are. And so many people are calling me Hitler and Trump Hitler, right? Where does that come from? That comes from the fear porn that the Mossad CIA media has been distributing to MLK Ultra, which is a form of brainwashing. And so I stepped out of that long ago, at least a decade ago, in looking at alternative news sources like Dan Bongino in 2015. So yeah, it's been a decade. One of the things that I did personally was I went through a lot of self-empowerment workshops, and one of them was the Landmark Forum. I attended that in 1999. And whenever we do something that is empowering for ourselves, we write an intention. And my intention was to find the courage to open up my office in Monroe, Washington, called the Women's Room, holistic counseling group for women. And that was what I went to the advanced course of the Landmark Forum from. I'm not sure if anybody's attended one of those. It helped me to find that courage then. And little did I know that courage is what would sustain me today. Being a woman postmenopausal, that's oftentimes when women find their purpose and passion in life. Well, I found my purpose and passion decades ago with, being in women's circles and groups and retreats, helping the women to, focus on ourselves and, healing the past traumas, dramas, pain, victimization, etc., so that when we are in relationship with other women, we could have a foundation of trust in these circles and bond and form these relationships together that would last a lifetime. And also to have healthier relationships with men so that women can appreciate what good men look like. Well, the feminist movement, in my humble opinion, has been attacking men and calling them misogynist, misogyny, and just really attacking them. I've seen that, 25 years or so. And I was just like scratching my head, like, what? And so I needed to learn first how to create a healthy relationship with my husband after having one foot out the door and, then getting sober. And so as we heal our own pain, then we can open our hearts, because that's our power source. The source of our power is in our hearts. Yes, connected to the divine, to our higher power, to spirit, to God, to Jesus Christ, and I love the inner goddess. This is about women standing in our full power, side by side with the men. And many people have a very small window of what that looks like because their communities are very small. Many women here are in isolation, living single, living alone. And so this podcast brings them hope to be connected in some form with other people who are, I call it light-minded. We have the light beaming into us where we can wake up in the morning, count our blessings and be grateful, and open our hearts and take that walk, that morning walk that I like to do when I can, is where do you want me to go? What do you want me to say? And to whom? Which Marianne Williamson, declared when I found her in 1990. And so she was my first spiritual woman who talked about ego and fear. And when we're in our ego and fear, which the media pumps out, fear porn constantly, be afraid, we're going to go to war, you're going to get the measles, you need a vaccine, you need to go, mask up, all that BS. This is where we shine, when we can use our ego in our purpose that's bigger than the ego. So that when I have those wall kicking moments where, like, I'm not sure I can keep doing this, it's very consuming, it's challenging, I'm not serving my community as well as I'd like to be. And then I just have to take a step back and say, I'm doing the best that I can with what I have. And I'm grateful that Allison is here co-creating these episodes, that the intent is to help the people who know the truth to be affirmed and validated. And the people who are just coming over, looking at me and rolling their eyes, one day, you will see the truth. And I think that March is going to be a big disclosure month. We're at the end of February, one more day in February. So buckle up your seatbelts, because my intention is that even though you may have shifted your thoughts about me because of my posts, that you will see why, who did what to us. And we're seeing that in exposure. So we're going to get to that in today's episode. Aloha, Belinda RN from Florida. We're so grateful to see you. Yeah, State of the Union address is March 4th. I would love it if he stepped up to the microphone and said, my fellow Americans, right? And then we see the military step in. Whew, we're going to see. So Miss Allison, and by the way, you can stay here. Thank you, Allison. We are looking for a harmonious conclusion. And the only way to have a harmonious conclusion is for the world to be woken up at the same time with what they either see through the news or through EBS alerts, which start to show the movie explaining to the world what has gone on in the United States for a very long time. And Donald J. Trump, and I think Allison agrees, is the ultimate punisher in terms of no more. He is the man we've dreamed of, we've wanted. And so Allison, welcome. So good to see you.
Thank you. Oh, it's just been it's not even a fire hose anymore. It's like a dam, water coming out of the dam or something. It's just like,
a flood. It's a flood. Drip, 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 flood. And Q told us it would be like that. Drip, 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 flood.
It would be a lot, but holy bajolies, it's like,
and this is what it's all about, the golden age, where our money is, we're reclaiming our money. And Trump and Elon are helping us to do that, right?
Yes. I believe it was Bud that said, Mark Z said yesterday that he is hearing, let me just put it up here. He is hearing rumors that DJT is announcing that we are gold backed again during the state of, well, it's not really the State of the Union, but the March 4th. Hopefully, I don't want to wait till whenever the State of the, I think the State of
I thought it was the March 4th of the State of the Union.
No, it's not. The State of the Union is usually much later. This is highly unusual this early in a president's term. So,
why not? He's an unusual president.
Right, exactly. You don't have to wait for the state. I think the State of the Union is usually at least after the first 100 days. And it's only been, not even 6 weeks, I think, something like that.
Unless you believe in devolution and that the military has been running the show from when he was 45, the 45th president, all the way through till now. And that we are watching a show, a movie, to slowly wake everyone up so that we don't have riots and civil unrest. So I don't know. Well, just saying, I believe in devolution. I've studied it. I've researched it, but we'll see.
Oh, that's my prayer. Believe me. So we and I just want to say we appreciate your donations. I'm going to put that in the chat because it's just really getting thin right now. So I understand everybody's in a hard spot. I get that. But if you appreciate this, any little donation, nothing is too small. I want you to know how grateful I am. And I look forward very soon to never, ever having to ask, but just to dole out money to whomever I choose to.
Well, you're a very powerful woman, because a very powerful woman learns how to be a vulnerable woman. And what you just did was very vulnerable. We didn't talk about her doing this. So thank you for asking for help. Asking for help is a power tool. And so with every $25, I'll send you 5 billion, which Mark Z has slated would be worth 330,000 per billion. You do the math. It's going to be amazing. And so thank you for being a powerful, vulnerable woman. Appreciate you so much, Allison.
You taught me that. That was a big thing for me. You probably can appreciate. I did not ever, never have I been in this kind of situation before. And it was foreign to me, and it had a lot of negativity around it. But then when you explained it to me, how it is really empowering to recognize that, so thank you.
My pleasure. Well, I know you're going to kick it off here. You've done a great job of managing everything that I've popped into you and finding good stuff to share with everybody. And what a dream team we have. And you are part of our dream team, viewers, because you flood us with information too. And it's over the top. Cannot even keep up. And which is a good thing in the bigger scope of the world, that everyone is digging and looking and listening and wanting to share who they're listening to. And also there's an alignment happening with our planets and energy. There's a vortex that's opening. And so
it's the Pisces new moon. That's coming tomorrow. No, tonight.
Today. I thought it was today.
Into the morning hours, depending on where you live. And it is truly opening a portal that doesn't happen very often.
No, like a long time. I don't know if it's decades. I read it and I forgot it. So
at least,
yeah. So pardon?
15 years, I believe, is
15 years.
But it's very unusual, yeah.
And Cliff High said that on the 28th, which is tomorrow, that the humans are going to experience a very profound, strong emotional experience. So, we'll see.
Oh boy, I'm supposed to.
So stay grounded, everyone. I went through mine a couple of days ago, or Monday it was, and I had my meltdown. So it's okay to have a meltdown. It clears the brain. It releases oxytocin and beneficial hormones in the brain to help us to be able to get, centered again. I myself, after I have a meltdown, I'm not usually able to function much. I need a little nap. I would never survive in corporate America. I tried it for a month and just said, oh my gosh, this place is crazy. For sensitive intuitives, it's very, very important that we honor our bodies, go within and take a time out if we need to. So with that, I think that Allison, if you're ready to queue up something for us, I know you've got a long list of things.
I do. Yeah, say an extra prayer for me because I'm going to be around family this weekend. So.
Oh, right. Before you start, I just want to say Deplorable Gammy says, hello, Nancy and Allison. Yeah, I finally caught a live show. Can't stay for it all. Appointment. Oh, my goodness. And Marianne says, I also struggled with corporate work, too. Thank you all for being here. And take it away, Allison.
Oh, well, this is the report from Jesse Waters. So let's hear what they have. He's talking to Miss Bondi.
Last week that you have the Epstein files on your desk is when can we see them and what's taking so long to release them?
I do. Jesse, there are well over, this will make you sick, 200 victims, 200. So we have over 250 actually. So we have to make sure that their identity is protected and their personal information. But other than that, I think tomorrow, the personal information of victims. Other than that, I think tomorrow, Jesse, breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released by my office.
What kind? Are we going to see who was on the flights? Are we going to see any evidence from what he recorded? Because he had all of his homes wired with recording devices.
Yeah, what you're going to see, hopefully tomorrow, is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information, but it's pretty sick what that man did.
Okay, well, we'll
along
look
with
for
his
that.
co-defendant.
Absolutely, and he had help. That's for
He
sure.
sure did.
You're muted.
Yeah.
So in that report, it says tomorrow, which is today. So if that is released today, and Allison has more to share on that, right, Allison? Yeah. So I think she has some documents, but maybe that's later, Catherine Herridge.
Yes, it is. It is. We'll go into that a little bit deeper when we get into that. I was going to cover briefly and may I just say that since she said hopefully, I'm not completely attached to it until we see it.
Yeah.
It's getting there, and it's not. I don't think that it's they're delaying it because they don't want to. It's that getting every piece of the puzzle to the same crescendo point. And so when it all comes out, it makes sense. So I think it's, those puzzle pieces I keep talking about.
Yeah. And then Bud says, was it released? I heard today. Yeah, today at noon. And so we had Trump in the media just now. That would have been around that time. So if you guys find anything, please post it in the chat. I kind of don't think she's gonna. I think this is our crescendo. I call it the climax. But the crescendo is a more appropriate name. And we're so grateful that Allison in Texas, what we are hearing is that Texas is going to give $10,000 per child funding because in their state, public schools for homeschooling, this is my point, in public schools in Texas, I know Mark Z mentioned he thought it was $18,000, $19,000 in public schools per child. So we're saving money for people who are going to homeschool, join homeschool communities. They've had enough of the educational system. And I looked at it when my son was 5 years old, 4 decades ago, and yet Allison did homeschool her children. So that must make you very happy.
Oh, I'm elated. That is the only geopolitical thing I've said to my daughter since I told her I wasn't getting vaxxed, and it was not well received. It was like eye roll. I felt like she was a teenager again. And she's, I won't hold my breath. I said, well, no, that's a good idea. Don't hold your breath, dear. And I just changed the subject because I mentioned, the homeschool thing was coming up and she's thinking about it. So $10,000 a student, you cannot imagine how expensive the curriculum. And I was trying to get authentic, books from the collector item type books to teach my kids, and it wasn't cheap or free by any stretch of the means.
Well, good for you. You're a powerful mama.
Well,
grandma now.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what her grandsons call her. Yeah. I love it.
We have now Cash. This is a report on, let's just say it's on Cash and Comey. The background on that to give y'all, if you're not aware, just to say.
Awesome, because Comey came up to the microphone when Hillary was destroying her Bluetooth phone and all of her stuff, and we were seeing it in real time, and yet he was lying like a rug, as my dad would say. So I can't wait to see him get his handcuffs and perp walk.
I prefer the noose. That's just me, though. I am Texan. go straight to the gallows, sir.
Might have already.
Let's see if we can make this one work.
James Comey sitting there in his comfy little chair with his Biden-Harris shirt, drinking out of his Biden-Harris mug. I really hope he enjoyed that, those moments of peace during the last 4 years, because those are probably the last moments of peace this man is ever going to know, because Kash Patel and Trump's FBI is officially coming for him due to the actions that he took while he was our FBI director, and I cannot wait. So we're going to jump right into the story, but before we do, my name is Clayton Kearns from TrendingPolitics.com. Please make sure to subscribe to this channel and like this video if you have not already. It really helps us out a ton. So before we get into the actual investigation, do you remember how smug James Comey always was, especially over these last few years, never thinking in a million years that President Trump was going to be back in office? Furthermore, as this user says, he never thought that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino would lead the FBI even if Trump got back in. Well, I have had this video clip here stuck in my brain for the last several years because I always wanted justice to come to this man because he's so smug and he was so arrogant. And he admits here to setting a trap for the Trump administration. Okay, now this is just part of all the things he's done. But take a look at this video and look how he's leaning back in his chair. Look how proud of himself he is. So happy that he was able to sneak some FBI agents into the Trump White House and get them to say certain things. Just take a look at this. And as you do, remember that justice is coming for this man.
You look at this White House now, and it's hard to imagine 2 FBI agents ending up in the same room. How did that happen?
I sent them. Something I probably wouldn't have done or maybe gotten away with in a more organized investigation, a more organized administration.
Do you hear that? I probably wouldn't have gotten away with this before in a different administration. Those are some very damning words, Mr. Comey.
In the George W. Bush administration, for example, or the Obama administration, in both of those administrations, there was process. And so if the FBI wanted to send agents into the White House itself to interview a senior official, you would work through the White House counsel and there'd be discussions and approvals and who would be there. And I thought it's early enough. Let's just send a couple guys over.
He said, it's early enough. We can get them. Let's get them. And that leads us to the breaking news of the day is that Kash Patel and his team at the FBI are officially looking into James Comey's off the books honeypot operation targeting the 2016 Trump campaign. Now, to be clear, this is different than what he was just bragging about in that video. In that video, he was talking about trapping Trump administration officials once Trump entered in the White House in 2017. So this guy's done a lot of bad stuff, but this is something that happened before Trump even was in office. This is according to the Washington Times, an exclusive story. New leadership at the FBI is starting an investigation into the origins of the agency's plan a decade ago to infiltrate the campaign of then candidate Donald Trump using 2 female undercover honeypot agents. The off-the-books investigation, launched in 2015 by James Comey, was revealed by an agency whistleblower, and that was reported in October of last year. According to the whistleblower, 2 female FBI agents infiltrated Mr. Trump's 2016 campaign at high levels and were directed to act as honeypots while traveling with Mr. Trump and his campaign staff. The Times has learned that the Bureau, now led by Director Kash Patel and Deputy Director Dan Bongino, who would have ever thought that these words have been spoken, is looking for one of those undercover employees who were previously under Mr. Comey's direction. The FBI has declined to comment. According to the whistleblower disclosure, which the Times reviewed, the investigation differed from Crossfire Hurricane, a later FBI counterintelligence operation that looked into the never-proved allegations that the campaign was colluding with Russia. So as I said, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot that James Comey and his FBI did very, very poorly. And he is just a corrupt individual. Clearly, he's a far leftist. I mean, let's just take a look at, I exited out of that picture. This picture right here. I mean, this is pretty much everything you need to know about this man. Okay. And so from day one, everyone talks about, it was a peaceful transition of power from Obama to Trump. No, it wasn't. There was a silent coup going on with people like James Comey in the deep state. This was not, they set traps for Trump at every step of the way. This was not a peaceful transition of power. Now, here's a video that is going viral all over social media on a day like today. And it is when James Comey, before the election, was kind of freaking out about the idea of what would happen if Trump actually won the election. First of all, he never thought. But as the time approached, he was like starting to get a little worried. So let's watch this video.
Are you concerned that it may get a test unlike any other if Donald Trump is reelected? I mean, when you think about a second Trump administration, what do you think the implications would be for the FBI?
Oh, serious, for the Justice Department and the FBI, because Trump is coming for those institutions. He knows their power, and I think he has regrets that he didn't work hard enough to corrupt them last time. So he's coming for them, and that's a danger for all Americans. He's going to put people in positions in those organizations. He didn't have all-stars the last time. He'll have the bottom of the barrel this time, but people who will want to do his will, and that should worry every American. This election matters because of a reason like that. People have to participate. You cannot sit on the sideline. I don't care how you feel about Joe Biden, you must vote for him because the consequences on the other side are too severe.
So this is obviously when Biden was still the candidate before he just lost his mind. I love how James Comey, the thing that in that video right there that I find most amusing is he says that Trump tried to corrupt the FBI and these agencies and the Department of Justice, when for the last how many years we have seen those agencies be weaponized against President Trump under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. James Comey doesn't like what Trump is about to do and what he's doing now because he's the victim of it. But James Comey himself is the ringleader for all of this corruption in the FBI. I don't know how he can sit there with a straight face and say, oh, yeah, no, Trump was the one corrupting. Trump was the one corrupting these agencies. And now he's going to do it again. And, you know, what James Comey refers to as the bottom of the barrel in his eyes is probably people like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. But guess what? They are not the bottom of the barrel. They are the cream of the crop. And as Dan Bongino said about Kash Patel, Kash knows where the bodies are buried. I mean, I don't know if you saw it, but there was a long documentary it came out before the 2020 election called Plot Against the President. Just go watch that movie once again and look at everything that Kash Patel, I think that was one of the things that made Kash Patel a true star. People got to see him in a different light. Kash knows, and he hasn't forgotten. And the fact that in his first week as FBI director, he's going against James Comey, he's doing this against James Comey, should give every single American a sigh of relief and understanding that we're finally going to get to the bottom of all this corruption. This was another video here of Comey opining on what 4 years of a retribution presidency would look like. And you can tell he's got some fear in his eyes, and it's all coming true now. And look, James, there wouldn't be any retribution if you would have just acted right your first time, if you wouldn't have tried to trap Trump, if you wouldn't have tried to trap his associates. Take a look at this.
4 years of a retribution presidency might look like. He could order the investigation and prosecution of individuals who he sees as enemies. I'm sure I'm on the enemies list.
Yeah, you are. I mean, did you see what happened to him over these last 4 years? They raided Trump's house. They raided Mar-a-Lago. They raided... Oh, this guy, he's really something else.
Because the president constitutionally does oversee the executive branch entirely, which includes the Department of Justice, prosecutors and investigators. And so he could commission direct that individuals be pursued. Given the way he said he intends to operate if he's reelected, this will be something we could never have imagined. Again, it seems like science fiction in a way, but it's what another 4 years of Donald Trump really promises, which is why people criticize CNN for their town hall. I want the American people to stare at the threat that we're facing and understand that they cannot take the next election off.
Yeah. I think he means I think he means the threat that's coming for him. The American people voted for this. I mean, Trump won the popular vote. Do you understand that? He won the popular vote. So the threat isn't against the American people. The threat is against this man right here. And now Kash Patel.
FBI met with Igor Danchenko for 3 years while he was a confidential human source for the FBI. They could have been asking all these questions. But as I've said from the beginning, the FBI is smart enough to know the questions they don't want answers to, because they didn't want their investigation to be shut down. And that's what they did. They Strzok, Page, Comey, all those people failed on purpose to set forth specific questions, because they knew the answers would kill the Russiagate investigation, because they would have no credibility for their source verification process, and they would have no fundamental facts upon which to go to the FISA court. That was their end goal. They engineered a crime and worked in reverse. And then they went out there, as we'll talk about, and offered up bounties to people with information. It is a shocking abuse of the law and a total breakdown of the FISA application process before the FISC.
Aren't you glad to have that man as our FBI director? We have the dichotomy of man here. A corrupt man on the left side, James Comey, and we have Kash Patel on the right side, who is coming for him. And I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see what comes next, because, guys, we have been sitting here for years, year after year after year, knowing how bad they did Trump, how they set him up. And then once he was out of office, they went after him with their justice system, all for him to come back and have the greatest comeback in the in the history of American politics.
Okay, here we are back on the little screen. Oh, you've got a magic button. You're muted, Allison. There you go.
Yeah, my little buttons. I'm trying best I can.
I love that clip because he gives people an overview. For those of us who were watching at the time, we saw it happening. We knew he was guilty and a dirty dog, and it was very, very frustrating. And so here we are a decade later, like almost, that we are, because it was early on in his presidency, so maybe it's been 8 years or so. However long it's been too long to see this corruption, and I love the way he recapped everything. How about you?
I do. It was a total accidental find. Accidental, coincidental. But
you want to read what Janet posted? Because this is more. You know, we've known about the Clintons. Manson and I, my husband and I, we started researching this well over 30 years ago. Probably when I went to vote for Clinton, and he's like, "Are you sure? You should see what this guy's been doing and what he's up to and what he's been confused of." So go ahead and read this, please, Allison.
I remember the Whitewater issue. James Comey was in cahoots with the Clintons in Little Rock during their Whitewater scandal, the same scandal that Hillary had her lawyer credentials stripped from her for lying. Soon as Slick put Comey as FBI director, I thought, who better than a person who knows where their bodies are buried? I agree, Allison, to the gallows.
Thank you, Janet.
Absolutely.
And did you just find something on Pam Bondi while we were watching that video?
I did. I was going to share what's going on at the White House at the moment. This is the Keir Starmer, but I'll just jump on over to this one.
Okay, so there's DC
here.
UK Prime Minister, of course, Keir Starmer, arriving there. I'm not sure what they are holding up, so they're going to zoom in on that and let's see what it says. Okay, so there's DC Drano right there on the screen, holding up various. I mean, it would be great if you could walk a little closer. Did you guys catch what that said, producers? From this distance, UK Prime Minister, of course, Keir Starmer, arrived.
Yeah, they were talking about that. Well, I wasn't finished. Hold on.
Arriving there. I'm not sure what they are holding up, so they're going to zoom in on that.
That was kind of a duplicate of saying the same thing. It actually says the Epstein Files Phase 1.
Oh.
Let me take that down. Oh, this is just weird.
Hallelujah, hallelujah. Epstein Files Phase 1 is going to expose all the Hollywood elites, government officials, people of the world, globalists who went to Epstein Isles, and the flight logs are full of them. And yes, Trump did fly on an Epstein plane, but it wasn't to Epstein Island. He was catching a ride when something was going on with his plane, because Trump likes to know who his enemies are and keep them close. So forget about Trump going to Epstein Island. He is way too smart to do for anything like that. And Epstein Island is where they were bringing in young girls to and children to do horrific things to. And then there's tunnels under his New Mexico house. And now Gene Hackman, they're not very far away from each other. Connect the dots. These guys are pedophiles, true. They're horrific. They believe in eugenics. Epstein has been accused of wanting to impregnate his own children and inseminating 20 girls at a time. Ridiculous. It's just disgusting. Hard to talk about. Pardon me, Allison. I kind of ran into you.
Oh, no need for pardon. That's totally, it's truth. It's just truth. I mean, it's horrible to have to talk about it, and there's even deeper, darker yuckiness that may be coming out. We want to prepare y'all to just let yourself breathe, because it's not going to be fun. But we have to go through this and those ugly truths to see just how bad it got, so we never, ever, ever let this happen again.
Yes, and some of these people are so bad, like Bud says, Real Raw News reported a long time ago, and we read those a long time ago. That Comey was he was given his tribunal and given a guillotine in 2021. Yet, as Real Raw News goes, we trust that we're being given some bits of the truth in there, and how much of it is real, time will tell. We'll see. Guillotine, that would be appropriate for him.
Fine for me. I'm good with that. I don't. It's just, he needs to be taken out. That's all. Period. I don't care how it happens. This next piece is really interesting. Nancy and I both zeroed in on it. It is this deaf lady, a young woman that is a brilliant data analyst, and she's on X as Data Republican, and she's giving a report to News Nation on what she found. And just a little background on that: Elon Musk had seen some of her posts, and she had actually been doxxed, and because the people that she was telling on didn't like that, and so she got doxxed. So she said, okay, I'm just going to post it all. And then Elon saw her post and said, y'all need to follow her. And she just went, and she said, then we were in communication, and it's rumor has it that she's awaiting her background check to be completed so she can go to work for him at Doge. So
yay!
But this is really she's a sharp cookie. I'm sorry, did you want to share something on the comments that you just put up?
No, I was just saying, Tammy saying hello. No, go ahead. I was just trying to post some comments. Thank you.
Let's see what she has to say here.
Big picture, with all the databases you're looking at and taxpayer money, how much do you think is being wasted or stolen?
If I had to guess, I would say it's over 100 billion. But what's more important is what they're doing with that money.
The mythical X account Data Republican, shared over and over again by Elon Musk himself, is a real person, a former programmer, now full-time calling out government waste, like exposing USAID. How did you get the attention of Elon Musk?
Honestly, I don't know. You'll have to ask him, but I'm grateful. One day, you just, I tweeted what everybody should, I just tweeted what I found, and then he tweeted everyone should follow the Data Republican. my jaw dropped to the floor. And I thought, what, is this real life? But I guess tech people find tech people. I want to be clear. I don't communicate directly with Elon. He found me and supports my work. But I have communicated with some people that are involved with Doge just on the side. And I don't want to say much more about that, but I have a working relationship.
She goes by Data and uses AI tools to search public databases for waste and fraud. She's been to DC to meet with Elon Musk's Doge team and publishes all her findings on X and her website. Charity funding, federal grants, non-governmental organizations funded by taxpayers. It's all there.
What do you say to people who think that this data, these databases, these numbers have been out there for a long time, that they've been public for a long time, and that it's sort of like a publicity stunt that they're getting all this attention now?
That's just an ignorant assumption. Data does not equal transparency. I am a database expert, a database scientist. I am a kernel engineer, and the numbers do not lie. What I did was I added the index to the book so that people can actually find the awards, what they're looking for. And you have to understand, without AI, this would not be possible because the book is so large, nobody can sit down and read the entire thing.
Her next project could be even bigger, investigating and exposing what she believes are corrupt politicians and judges. She posted this weekend, still working on the People Connection mega project. This will be my first truly financially high-cost initiative, so I need to get it just right.
So my project right now is to work on analyzing connections and relationships between people in the government, because if you research people long enough, you start to notice that they're all working together. They're all married. They're all in-laws. They know each other. They all sit on the same board for many years. And that's my project, to map those relationships and put it on my website.
She says Democrats and Republicans are both to blame.
I cannot tell you enough how much both are involved. It is everywhere. Now we even have members of Congress. So we have sitting members of Congress that actually sit on the NGOs right now. They vote in Congress for money for themselves, and they sit on the same NGOs that they're voting to get money. It is a huge conflict of interest, and it's buried very deep. The numbers don't lie. This is not a partisan issue, and if the American people understood completely what we're finding, there would be outrage across the board.
Are you ever scared? Because exposing things like that, the ways people are making big money secretly within our government, seems like it could put you at risk.
Oh yes, we had to change the way we live entirely, quickly. But you know, sometimes God calls you for a mission, and you must answer that call.
Sometimes God calls you for a mission and you have to answer that call. Absolutely. And I would like to point out that Marianne said, Juan mentioned Hillary might be the first arrest. We've been hearing that for a long time. Who's going to be the first arrest? And Hillary definitely deserves to be at the top of the list. Yet I wonder if somebody like Obama, but you know what? If Hillary's the first arrest, you go directly to the kids, directly. I don't know. Anyways, what did you want to say?
I'm all on board with that. At this point, I don't care who gets arrested first. I just want somebody to get arrested, right? I've seen so many posts like that. Trump sitting with little kids, and the little kid says, "My mommy says she's going to lose her." If somebody doesn't get arrested, it's just that's on the edge of everybody's. Yeah, it's
well.
Just
And Crystal Lady says it's a big sick club and it's on its way, and I think out. If anybody's watched those George Carlin clips, he was telling us for a long time.
Yeah, that was
it's a sick club, and it's a big club, and you ain't in it.
Right. Yes. The other thing I was going to share from Data Republican, I'm going to put this in the description because it's pretty small to see. Even if I blow it up, this is the kind of work she does, which blows my mind. It's like, look at that. I mean, it's just wild. And I will be putting it in the description for anyone who wants to delve into that a little bit more.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Absolutely. Did you want to move on to Miss Harridge?
Yes, please. She's on my list of next. Thank you.
Oh, hold on. Helps if I add it to the stage.
Okay, so what we have here is that the New York Post says fired CBS News reporter Catherine Herridge reveals photos of files on Hunter Biden's COVID origins seized by network, attack on investigative journalism. So are you going to play that video or just highlighting?
Let me see if that's even the correct one, because let me refresh it real quick to be sure, because sometimes they jump. Yeah, here we go. We can do this one. Definitely.
Beautiful.
Hold on one second. Let me make sure it goes full screen for you.
Been the honor of a lifetime to anchor this legacy broadcast. So for the final time, that's tonight's CBS Evening News. I owe it all to everybody I work with. Honestly, love you. Good night.
You're muted.
My apologies. I thought that was related to Catherine Herridge, but you know how they stick ads in there? I'm not sure why. Let me just go ahead and read to you what the article.
Okay.
Basically, let me see if there is another video. I don't. There are some pictures.
You had documents. Yeah, there you go.
See, she had, let me just back up and fill in the blanks if someone isn't aware. She's an award-winning investigative journalist who was dismissed last February, so over a year ago now, as part of wider layoffs by embattled parent company Paramount Global stirred up a firestorm in her bid to regain the materials before the network gave back the items weeks later. Exactly 1 year ago. Yeah, go ahead.
So, well, what I was going to say about Catherine Herridge is I used to watch her on Fox when I realized CNN, MSNBC, et cetera, weren't sharing the truth. And so I would see her on Fox and always think she's so level-headed, so calm. She's not bipartisan. She just wants the truth out there. And then she left Fox for MSNBC. And I think that's the network she went to. And I was like, why is she going over there? Is she going undercover? Like intuitively, I knew right then. I was like, why did she leave Fox to go over there? So she's back as an independent reporter.
Yes, independent. She wrote that the material encompassed 4 large moving boxes weighing over 100 pounds in total that were seized by the network. She referred to CBS News their actions as a journalistic rape and an attack on investigative journalism. Quote, I hope no investigative reporter has to suffer a similar injustice in the future. And I have other pictures to show you that's basically the same, but this is like, I mean, it's a lot. They just decided, oh yeah, we're going to take this and you don't need it anymore. And here's another one. This was specifically, it says United States of America Merit Systems Protection Board, and it's all her research. I mean, she has, looks like a lawsuit between the DOJ and the Department of Treasury and these people, Shapley and Ziegler. I'm not sure. I haven't read it all, but there's so much that, I mean, good for her, because she's very neutral. I've especially some of those Gitmo reports she did recently.
Well, and I watched her talk on air and about how challenging it was for her and her family and her son to have these hit jobs done against her and trying to discredit her. So I hope she does have her own personal lawsuits going on to be vindicated for her family. Just one thing with Marianne says, remember we were talking about it's a big club and you ain't in it. She says, we, all caps, are in the bigger club and it's all good. Thank you, Marianne.
Bingo. I love it. Absolutely. Well, then we have some accountability coming around. I'm just loving it. It's so fun, isn't it?
Yes.
This is about those little mayors over in Sanctuary City Land. Hold on one moment.
Are you aware that we are sending $40 million a week to the Taliban?
Yes, sir.
Can you name other instances of foreign aid going to terrorist organizations?
We have assisted Al-Shabaab in Somalia. There's been instances of the Hamzi network in Sudan, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, Kataib al-Hezbollah, Hayat Tahrir al-Shams in Syria. Dozens of terror organizations have received indirect assistance from U.S. foreign aid.
Could you elaborate a little bit on the mechanisms in place that are to stop foreign aid from going to terrorist groups, and why are they not working if we have any in place? Sure. And I would note that these are, you notice, these are terrorist weaponry. You see some AKs, SKSs.
That was my bad, peoples. I apologize. That was supposed to be the next one. My apologies. This is the one that is supposed to be shared on the mayors being accountable. I'll try take two.
Fails to protect our magnificent law-abiding American citizens, but provides sanctuary and protection for dangerous criminals.
Pushback in the sanctuary city of Boston. Mayor Michelle Wu says the city will not cooperate with his plan for mass deportation.
Police agents in Massachusetts arresting 2 illegal immigrants facing sex crimes against children in 2 separate instances.
Illegal alien from Haiti, the gang member with 17 criminal convictions.
Trump, you feel me? Will Biden forever, bro. Thank Obama for everything that he did for me, bro.
The goal of the Trump administration is to get us to surrender our humanity.
To Mayor Brandon Johnson continued to reinforce his sanctuary city status and to fight back against President Donald Trump's immigration policies.
So this is an example of sanctuary cities, right? You got an illegal alien convicted of sex crimes involving children, and he's walking the streets of Chicago.
We are compassionate people, so we're doing everything in our power to demonstrate compassion.
Lighting a sleeping woman on fire on a New York subway and then fanning the flames. 33-year-old Guatemalan citizen entered the United States illegally not once but twice.
Denver Mayor Mike Johnson is suggesting he would use Denver police to block federal officials from carrying out mass deportation efforts. Some say the mayor's comments went too far. They even accuse him of trying to start a civil war.
Castle Rock Town councilman says Denver has had trouble housing newcomers, and they're spilling over into neighboring communities.
This isn't just a decision that Denver gets to make. It's impacting the rest of the Front Range.
Gang violence at an apartment complex in Aurora. We're entering an apartment building with several weapons, then busting down a door of the apartments, which have become a crime hotspot.
Nonprofits have lined up to help the migrants that have come here, but nobody is helping the American citizens that are trapped in these apartment complexes.
Breaking news tonight, the city of Chicago now being investigated for sanctuary city status. Mayor Brandon Johnson receiving a letter from Washington, D.C.
Chicago, Denver, Boston, and New York, all of which are sanctuary cities, are now under investigation by the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform.
Sanctuary cities are going to get exactly what they don't want. More agents in the communities, more people arrested, more collaterals arrested. So that's a game they want to play. Game on. Game on.
So we're going to bring the mayors in. We're going to let them explain what their policies are, see if they can answer some questions as to who's paying for this, who's been in charge of this, what role has their local government played, was the federal government involved. If they're going to continue to disobey the law, then I think we should cut as much of their federal funding as we can cut.
Well, you're muted, and I think that $40 million a week is something worthy of investigating and bringing it back, cutting it off, right?
Well, this absolutely, my apologies for getting those out of order. There's just so much, it's kind of easy to do. The 40 million a week for the Taliban was different from this one. The oversight, this was from the Oversight Committee on Oversight and Government Reform on X. And I just thought it was a mic drop moment. It's game on from Tom Homan. And it's like, it's finally happening. They're going to get held accountable.
Awesome. Yes. And Bud, here's the line of the whole exposure is it's all about the money in their pocket. Follow the money.
Yep. Totally. And this is, well, thank you, Tammy. This is I'll let you hear the rest of the Taliban report because it's a few more minutes. Let me double check and make sure. It's not very long. It's only 5 minutes and we're already almost a minute into. So about four minutes. And it's very, voluminous information that they're exposing in Congress.
Yeah. Bud says it's over. Yeah. That's why I couldn't come up with a title today other than to say, the empire, the corrupt empire, it's going down, and it is down. Now the public just needs to see that.
Yes, wakey. So let's finish watching this because it's really informative.
Some snipers, some clips, some clip carriers, probably made in China, and I believe these are small landmines here beside right there.
Let's use Gaza as our case study. $2.1 billion in American taxpayers' money to Gaza since October 7th when Hamas invaded southern Israel. USAID money was going in terms of an emergency use authorization to try to go to parties that USAID formerly had a relationship with in the Gaza Strip. They had to have been vetted by OFAC. They should have been vetted against the special designated terror list from the State Department and from other Treasury organizations. Waivers were granted because they said that there was an emergency use to have that money come in to Gaza, thereby jettisoning the usual typical screening procedures. As a result, 90% of aid that was going from the United States by way of its agents in Gaza ended up in Hamas-controlled areas. And this is ridiculous. Essentially, what the U.S. assistance to Gaza did was underwrite the ability for Hamas to survive until the ceasefire was just passed a few weeks ago. There was no strategic thought for it, and there was no screening.
Seems like the emergency might have been armed terrorists to kill civilians. Would that be accurate?
That's accurate. And even more than that, Samantha Powers, the administrator for USAID, was intent on having Israel not be able to defend itself.
To not be able to defend it.
Correct.
Mr. Pramarak, is that correct? How do you say that? Pramarak? I got Burchett, man. Nobody gets mine right, so don't worry about it. What is it? Pramarak?
Perfect.
All right, thanks, brother. How did terrorists exploit our foreign aid loopholes?
Well, we have a lot of our international.
Can you pull your mic up? I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
You have international NGOs and UN agencies actively lobby here in Washington, D.C. against vetting policies that would prevent it. I was the senior vetting officer at USAID. And what we did.
Did you say United Nations is doing this? The UN?
Sure. Everybody who's getting money lobbies here.
That they're lobbying against us. I'm sorry, Mr. Roman.
There's actually someone who used to work for one of those lobbies, the largest NGO lobby, Interaction. One of our co-witnesses here worked for them from 2018 to 2023. USAID effectively self-funds its own external private lobby that then goes back to Congress and asks for more money for USAID.
So the taxpayers fund this lobbyist who's working against American interests.
Correct.
Possibly killing our allies and possibly Americans.
They bring together groups in Washington that oversees work with groups that kill Americans.
Yeah, I don't need a flow chart to show that. I appreciate it. Do you think USAID programs have been aligned with the national security interests of the U.S.?
No, they have not. They have actually helped China.
Mr. Roman?
No.
Okay. How do these programs compromise our national security, Mr. Pramarak?
They actually push China. They actually push much of the world towards China on the green energy agenda. They push people, ordinary people, billions of people towards China because of the resentment caused by our social re-engineering.
Are we being lobbied by these pro-communist China groups currently?
But a lot of these countries don't even have to lobby because they get the money anyway, like South Africa.
Yeah, and in fact, these lobbyists have come to the House and have tried to kill legislation like HR 160, which was meant to increase transparency in USAID's funding of overseas organizations.
Is that a current piece of legislation?
That's from the last session.
And give me that number again.
HR 160.
And what does it do?
It was meant to give U.S. lawmakers the ability to have higher transparency in terror financing investigations aimed at scrutinizing extremist groups.
Mr. Premier.
We had a regulation before we left in the last administration that anybody who touches money in countries where there's terrorists, those names have to go through database.
Okay, it looks like it's stuck. Allison kind of looks stuck too. So is it me? Did it stop on your screen in Rumble or Facebook? Can you guys let me know if it's stuck on yours too, or if I need to go out and come back in again? Oh my goodness. If you're not hearing me, then I need to go out and come back in again. It's stuck for you too. Can you hear me, Marianne? Can you hear me, Tammy? Okay, you can hear me. Okay, great. I'm going to take this off the stage. I think Allison might need to be. Okay, great. All right. So a couple of things so far. I just want to say that Pelosi, I'm not sure if a lot of you are aware of this. There's a federal building in San Francisco named after Nancy Disgusting Pelosi, and Trump has cut off the funding for that. They're going to remove it. And also the UN, as that was mentioned in that last video, I just dropped a link in Rumble for it. I asked for help on finding some of the UN and the corruption they've been through. And Marianne, I think, was the one who found it for me. Thank you. Allison replayed it on my Rumble channel last night or whenever. And so I dropped the link over there for y'all. And one thing I wanted to say to Colleen. Colleen says, we're holding the light warriors. She is a light worker, and I love light workers because we are crystalline bodies of light. We haven't been taught that. We have the energy within us. So Colleen, I want to propose a possibility to you. If Canada is going to be a part of America, which I know so many Canadians are just like, no, USA just wants to come and take our land. They want to screw us, blah, blah, blah. That was the old USA of America, the corporate, bankrupt, illegal entity run by the Queen. We are a restored republic. And so what if, Colleen and other Canadians listening to it, when we merge together as a nation, if we do, how convenient and easy would it be for us to be on the same currency, the United States Treasury note, gold backed? And I know a lot of Canadians who I watch in other channels, and they comment on it and they say, we would love it. So Canada is very divided, much like the United States is very divided. And I think that would be amazing. Allison is back. I can see her head moving. What do you have for us next, Allison? Apparently you got stuck.
It just totally went blank. Just like I overdid it or something. Taxing it. So I closed a few more windows if that's possible. This is a happy report. I'm excited to share. You said you have a personal experience with this, and I just love seeing how things are. Again, the light is beginning to peek it through the cracks, and it's about to just go and burst open. Would you like to talk about it after they see this, and then, or do you want me to
go ahead and play it, or read it, or play it, or whatever you're doing with it?
Yeah, basically, this is a boots on the ground report a Mexico citizen reporting that the cartel presence has disappeared in border city Tijuana, Mexico. People aren't being trafficked anymore. The cartel isn't there to charge businesses to operate. Residents aren't having their money stolen. Cartel members have been killed, and we'll see how many in the report. And
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
Pardon me. Now I know why you're asking me if I wanted to comment on it. Thank you for refreshing my memory. So I grew up in San Diego primarily and lived in Hawaii in high school, parts of that. So I have gone to Tijuana with my dad since I was a child, and then with my mom and my stepdad. They'd go over to take us to the horse races. And so Tijuana is just a beautiful place, and yet what's happened to it has gotten so bad. And into Mexico, we got used to decades ago seeing anybody who was legitimately trying to clean up the corruption in the cartel in Mexico. They would run for mayor, et cetera, and they would get decapitated. They would get hung in the streets. The cartel was just running Mexico, and probably in cahoots with the CIA, because they were there, hello, the corruption is so freaking deep. And we love our Mexican, Hispanic friends and neighbors. We adore you. If you are here on a green card or whatever, you may want, if you're not here fully legally, you may want to go back into Mexico and come back, because Trump has the new golden card. And we'll talk about that later.
Yeah,
play it, Allison.
I grew up going to Nuevo Laredo, and from San Antonio, where that was my hometown. So I get you. It got scary there for a long time. So but this is someone in the Tijuana, Mexico area, though.
Okay, so a lot of people used to cross out of Tijuana, and everybody had to pay the cartel. And what are you telling me about the cartel now?
Now, no more cartel in the Tijuana, and it's done. No more paying the cartel.
And they used to take all the money from the businesses too.
Yes,
everybody
is stealing the money, stealing every.
But some of them must have fought with guns. Some of them must have fought. There must have been a shootout.
Yeah.
So there was a war.
Yes.
And the government won. How many cartel do you think were killed in Tijuana?
A lot. Every day, maybe 20, 30 cartels
is dead.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's good to know. The American people will be happy to hear that.
In Nuevo Laredo, Tamaulipas, a lot are there too.
Okay, speak in Spanish. Say it in Spanish this time, what you just told me. Speak in Spanish about the cartel being wiped out.
Cartel, mi gobierno allá en México ya lo está acabando los cartel. Nuevo Laredo, Tamaulipas, Tijuana, Agua Prieta, dos más. Ahí están los carteles. Ahora sí, el gobierno ya lo está acabando. O 2, 3 meses más se va a acabar todo, porque ese es lo que cruzan en la frontera los mexicanos en Estados Unidos. Pero ese cobran $10,000 para cruzar, pero ahorita ya no, ya cobran más o menos el coyote.
Gloria a Dios.
You're muted.
Wow. That's so exciting to me. Doesn't it do your heart good?
Yeah, it sounds like you're having issues with your internet, dear. My goodness, there's an issue. So
we'll pray we get through the rest of it. I'll go to the next one that we have, praying that it will all.
Okay, we're only getting about every other word, so go ahead and share the next one if you have it.
It was so fun. We have such a great cabinet. There's great camaraderie. The feeling is just fire. And this administration is winning. Every day it's winning.
Let me talk about what you were talking about there, the EB-5 program, which is gold green cards, $5 million that essentially gets you a pathway to citizenship. Explain, first of all, how that came to be.
So there's an EB-5 program that always had, if you invest in real estate or make a loan in America, you get a path to citizenship with a green card. And so the president had conversations over the weekend with his friend John Paulson, who came up and said, hey, why aren't we doing better with that? He called me, we talked about it, and I did work over the weekend on Monday, and on Tuesday at a press conference, the president comes out and gives the path, which says, imagine if we sell 1 million of them, that's $5 trillion, and that pays off our debt, drives down interest rates, and makes America amazing.
So the coverage of it, you know, Trump gold card to offer rich foreigners route to U.S. citizenship for $5 million. Trump says U.S. can pay off $36 trillion debt by selling wealthy immigrants $5 million gold card visas. And then Politico took another take. Trump, I know some Russian oligarchs that are very nice people. What do you say to people who say,
oh, come on.
Yeah, no, not about that. Are they going to be vetted, first of all?
Of course. Deeply vetted, and we said that from the first minute go. These are vetted people. These are going to be great global citizens who are going to bring entrepreneurial spirit, capacity, and growth to America. If one of them comes in, think of the jobs they're going to bring with them, the businesses they're going to bring with them, and they're going to pay American taxes as well. So this is huge money for America.
And how many people are waiting in this line currently?
So there are 250,000 people waiting in line now. If they're willing to pay the $5 million, that's over $1 trillion that comes directly to $1.25 trillion just for that line. And I think these people are going to come enormous ways because they know they can come into America and they can be in the greatest country on earth.
You're kind of bullish when you talk about paying down the debt. And you said it again today in the cabinet meeting. You truly believe that with this program, with DOGE, you can make this money all materialize and counteract a really skyrocketing deficit?
So if you go back to my Twitter feed, which I'm sure no one does, October 14th, when I recruited Elon and came up with the name Doge, October 14th, we agreed to balance the budget, that he would take $1 trillion of expense out. Remember, we have just under $4 trillion of entitlements, but no one's ever gone through it. No one's ever looked at it. If I told you no one's ever looked at it, you've got to assume 25% is just mistakes, errors, and is wrong. That's $1 trillion a year. We do tariffs. We do the gold card. We drill, baby, drill, and we get rid of these tax scams that are all over the United States of America, and that'll produce $1 trillion in revenue, $1 trillion in cuts, and $1 trillion in revenue always balances this budget, and we're going to do it.
Very successful businessman. Your firm, very successful. Were you always pro-tariff?
No, I didn't even know what a tariff was until I met Donald Trump. I mean, basically, look, I worked, I made money, and then when I was at the top of my game, we had September 11th, and my world was destroyed, and all I really wanted to do was rebuild the company and take care of those families. I didn't really think about politics until Donald Trump called me at the end of 2023 and asked me would I help him. Now, he was my friend. He's been my friend for decades and decades, and I decided I would help him. And that's when he started teaching me about tariffs. So I want to be clear. Donald Trump taught me first, but then I'm a very, very quick learner, and I read a lot, and I understand everything about tariffs now. And that's why he gave that order on January 20th, launching me to study everything, which gives him all the tools on April 1st, so he can set tariffs across the world on April 2nd.
So he says numerous times that tariff is now one of his favorite words, right. One of the top 4 at least. Right. He says it is pure good. It's going to enrich the country. You believe that?
I do believe it, because we have to care about Americans. You know, the global view that says if I move car manufacturing out of Michigan, out of Ohio, to Mexico, and to Canada, doesn't that lower our costs? It does. But what does it do to Americans who live in Michigan and Ohio? You know what it does? It decimates their community. You lose U.S. Steel from Pittsburgh, you are going to blitz Pittsburgh and that whole community. So someone's got to care about these workers. Someone's got to care about these people. And the combination of bringing that back, that manufacturing back, or you don't want to bring it back, you pay the duty on the way in the door, you pay the tariff on the way in the door. It's a win-win. You're going to see unbelievable growth from the American economy, and we're going to balance the budget with those money.
So if it's pure good, if it is for enrichment, why delay it at all? Why not levy the tariffs tomorrow?
Oh, because the rules, so what happens is, in order for the president to issue tariffs, he has to follow the laws that have been written by Congress. And those laws say he's got to study the problem, define the problem, and then execute a solution to the problem. And those problems were obvious to us. We've been treated like crap by everybody. I mean, India, think about this. Modi comes and visits the president. And as the kindness of his heart, he says, I'm going to reduce the tariff on Kentucky bourbon from 150% to only 100%. I mean, talk about guts. You got to be kidding me. These countries treat us like crap. And now President Trump has said, enough. We are going to be treated fairly around the world. This policy started in 1945, 80 years ago. Do you think it's time that we refresh it a little?
So today at the cabinet meeting, you explained that Mexico and Canada, they had this 30-day pause for the 25%, and they're going to stipulate border security measures and fentanyl interdiction and show that. And if the president likes that, do they still not get the tariff? It seemed to me like he was still talking like even if that 25% tariff is probably going to go on Mexico and Canada.
So on April 2nd, when he says April 2nd, that's the baseline tariff. That says how you treat us is how you get treated. So you think, okay, well, we have USMCA, right? So we're supposed to have a free trade agreement with Canada, but they have a 5% national tax. Oh, well, that's 5%. They tax all our dairy products. They tax so many different things, lumber. They tax our food. It's outrageous. They basically cheat around the sides, and then when we don't act, they stop cheating around the sides. They cheat right down the middle. And the president is sick and tired of it. He's sick and tired of the countries adjacent to us inviting in China to their model, right? Who does steel in Mexico? You think it's Mexicans? No, it's Chinese companies. It's got to stop. The president's on it. So here's what he said. Tariffs, if you don't stop the fentanyl, you don't stop killing Americans, I'm going to slap a 25% tariff on you, and I'm going to teach you a lesson. So they immediately put their military on the border. They started stopping it. So we'll just see if they did a good job or not. We'll see. But then April 2nd, it's his turn to say what's fairness, who's treating us fairly, and everybody's got to negotiate. Tariffs. That's reciprocal. How you treat us is how we'll treat you. And doesn't that sound sort of reasonable?
Yeah. So I guess, although businesses on Wall Street, and you know them well, they're skeptical. Consumer confidence they look at went down 7 points in February. They see jittery feelings in the U.S. economy, and they wonder whether this is going to boomerang back on U.S. consumers. Is, I guess, the feeling. Do you hear that from businesses when they talk about tariffs?
Because Wall Street companies look at one at a time, right? If I'm importing goods and I have a tariff on me, how's that going to work for my shareholders, me? Wall Street analysts don't look at America writ large, American people writ large. Donald Trump was elected by who? A majority of Americans to do what? To take care of America. And if that doesn't work out for your particular company, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that it's not so good for you. You might have to pay the tariff. But let me tell you, if you drive down our budget deficit, interest rates come smashing down. You balance this budget, interest rates in America are under 2%, right? And not by monetary nonsense, like really below 2%. Mortgages are so much cheaper. Food costs are so much cheaper. Our farmers can sell everywhere in the world. America explodes by winning. And that's Donald Trump's objective. And that's what we're out there to try to do.
And last thing on this, is it going to take some time to get, you say they're going to come back? I mean, that's not overnight, right? I mean, that doesn't happen overnight if these businesses, to avoid tariffs, are going to come back.
Right, that takes 2 years for sure. You can't build a factory in less than 2 years. So that's why you hear Donald Trump talking about, I'm going to clear the path on permitting. I'm going to clear the path on regulation. I'm going to let these factories get built here. And what you're going to see is the employment of electricians, but not an electrician who comes in and fixes our kitchen lights, but electricians who work in factories, or mechanics who fix robots. I mean, these are going to be jobs that pay $200,000, $300,000. And we're going to take trade craft in America, trade craft, the steel workers and auto workers. And these people are going to have great jobs going forward, millions and millions of great jobs going forward. There's never been a president who's understood the global economy the way Donald Trump does, and he's going to deliver to the American people, and that's why I'm all in. He actually understands, and it's really amazing and fun.
Let me ask you another question, different topic, quickly. The U.S. Postal Service coming under Commerce. I mean, where did that come from, and what is that about, and how will Americans deal with it? Will it affect their mail?
No, it won't affect their mail. So the concept was, I'm sitting with the president, and the costs of the post office are like it loses $7 billion. And he said, can you do something with it? And I said, sure. So I saw him the next day, he goes, okay, what do you got? You know, he gives me a whole 24 hours to figure it out. And I said, well, the Commerce Department does the census. And we spend $40 billion every 10 years doing the census. And that means we hire 625,000 people. And they go and they rent cars and gas, and you pay them food. And you know what they do? They go to every household in America and count the people. What department do we already have that already employs 625,000 people? It's got cars, already has gas, goes to every household. Can you imagine saying to your postman, can you count the people in the house? What day could he do the census? Monday? Could he double check it on Tuesday? How about Wednesday? He goes every day. So we can only save $40 billion or $4 billion a year, and we'll do a better job. And you know what else we can do with the post office? They can go to your house when you have a baby and give you the form for Social Security. And the 20,000 Social Security offices that we have, we just don't need them. We actually can do real customer service, go right to your house. Someone died, here's the forms, you can fill it out. I'll bring them to your house. Customer service. Why? Because we've got those people. Let's use the assets of the government to make us better and save us money. We can be smart, you know, we're allowed.
What concerns you most? You're fired up about this job. Everybody can see that. You're excited about all the things you're talking about. What concerns you most about where the country is or where we're going?
The opportunity in front of us is so great. The thing that concerns me most is China. There's a giant country who hates us, who wants us to not have this way of life, and the rest of the world not so much. So the issue is, how do you make sure that they don't run like Huawei? And you say, well, why do I care about that? Well, if they get in the phone system, they'll turn it off. You know, these kind of things, we've got to protect ourselves, and we've got to protect our allies who get weak, who want to buy it cheap. Right? They dump cars. Think about it. We won't let a Chinese car come here, right? Europe let them come. They started selling a car that cost 30,000 euro for 17,000. Cost was 30. And what Volkswagen started saying, we're going to start closing plants. They're trying to crush us. And we need to pay attention. And thank God we have Donald Trump in the White House, because he's paying attention. He's going to bring the pharmaceuticals back, the semiconductors back. We have to protect ourselves and be powerful as a country. We are the greatest country on earth. We will not cut one penny from someone who deserves Social Security, someone who deserves Medicare. But let me tell you, all that crap of waste and fraud and abuse, that's out of here. We're going to balance this budget. We're going to drive interest rates down, and we're going to make the greatest America great again.
Mr. Secretary, we appreciate the time. We'll take a little tour a little later in the show.
How lovely is that? And oh my goodness, this is so exciting. So in a minute, we're going to talk about Social Security. But first, I want to give a thank you, Miss Rita, for becoming our first monthly supporter. Really appreciate you. And I've been meaning to let people know that if you have a rant or a comment that you would like us to read out loud from Rumble, you can donate on Rumble. It's simply, they take a little bit out of it. I appreciate it. If you do a Rumble rant for $25 or more, and you want me to send you the 5B aggro, 2 of them for every $25, you will need to email me at nancy@nancykerner.com and put in the title Rumble donation. And then I can send those to you. Otherwise, I won't know where to send it to. So I'm really grateful about that. Yes, Mr. Lednick is phenomenal, but he says he's a smart man. Marianne says he lives in a house the size of a small town. So yes, if you haven't seen the story about him, he was a very successful businessman. When 9/11 hit, he had, I think, thousands of employees. Maybe it was in the hundreds. I don't remember. If you do, please let me know. And he set up foundations for those families and their children, giving them money and college education for the kids, et cetera, that survived from the families, because this was his family. They were his employees. Really sad and tragic. Loved all the topics that Brett Baer covered with him. That's why we chose to play it. It's a little bit long, yet really important. And he leads right into our next conversation, which, first of all, I want to highlight Tammy's comment. Talk about divine timing, Tammy. I would like them to do away with the Social Security number, because that came from the straw man garbage. What she's referring to, and she's absolutely correct, is when we're born, we're given a birth certificate and our names are in all caps, and then we are traded in admiralty law, because that's why so many people have trouble saying happy birthday, because the birth is a ship, is part of the ship, and we were being traded like chattel ever since we had our birth certificates, and they've been using us, making money and profiting off of us. And there is speculation that we are going to be returned all the money that was taken from us, because they made trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars off of you, off of me, the straw man account. And so a lot of people say happy born day, because if you hear somebody say happy born day, that's because they're awake and aware. And with that, Miss Allison, are you ready?
I am. Believe it or not. This was the first one that caught the eye, because it says, of course, it was reported that they were saying 120, but it's actually 110 offices with taxpayer assistance centers. And again, I'll be putting this in the description for y'all to go through and read, because we have quite a few. This is the actual press release from the Social Security website. I thought this would be pertinent to have, and if anybody wants to read more into it, but it's definitely happening. It's what it's doing. Social Security announces expedited retroactive payments and higher monthly benefits for millions. And what that means specifically is people like teachers, firefighters, federal workers that, because they had maybe a pension plan with a state company or whatever from the state, they didn't get the federal. So it's all being corrected now, and will be, if that's you would be receiving a retroactive payment, maybe a big chunk. That'd be great. So we love good news. And
that's awesome.
This other one, that's the one saying it's retroactive, but I meant to click on this one. This is talking about Social Security eliminates an entire department. It's the Office of Transformation. It's crazy. It's just boom, 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 coming so fast, right?
Wait a minute. The Social Security Administration announced that it is eliminating the Office of Transformation, which it described in a news release Monday as a wasteful department. President Trump previously mandated the federal government eliminate wasteful and inefficient offices, and the Office of Transformation was a prime example, said acting Social Security Commissioner Lee Dudek in a statement. This redundant office was created under the previous administration, and we are righting that wrong. Other details about the decision to remove the office were not provided by Social Security. Wow, that's great news.
It is. And to top that all off, Mr. Scavino posted this poll yesterday. Abolish the IRS. Well, first he posted, it's time to abolish the IRS. And then he came out with this poll last night. And I think I told Nancy this morning, Who is this 1.8% that's doing the no? I mean, is it the employees?
It's the faithful, loyal MSNBC, CNN followers who think that we are all out of our minds, and they are the ones who need to cleanse their minds from the programming that they are so deeply steeped into. This is going to be tough for them to wake up one day.
Yes, it truly is. It's deeply disturbing, but they'll get through it. We did so.
Right? We've just had much longer to prepare because we've been awake for so long. In some aspects, it's the Great Awakening in pieces, and it's mind-blowing. So what do you have for us next, Miss Allison?
We have the peace deal. This is from Salty Goat on X. It is, I think is what he meant to say. Peace deal reached between Russia and Ukraine, and Zelensky is flying to the USA to sign the deal made by Trump. Details are United States gets 50% of the revenue from Ukraine's mineral wealth as repayment for money spent on the war, which that's huge. No membership to NATO. Ukraine concedes territory. And he says, liberals, y'all go ahead and start crying, but this shit is over. No more war. Thank you. That's just best news.
It is. And for those of us who've been praying, meditating, and holding that impossible dream of no more wars, how many are in that group? My goodness, we, the people, want peace on earth and prosperity for all. But no, I'm a Nazi. What do I know?
That's just the most ludicrous thing ever. I can't imagine anybody calling you a Nazi. It makes me laugh. I'm sorry. I know it's not.
I don't take it personally. I'm having more fun with it than any of it. So Tammy's pretty excited about all that's been talked about. And also, so is Ravenheart 17 says, I told my mom about that and she just got her Social Security check. No change. She was bummed. Told her it's coming. And then Marianne said, go to Telegram. I think by the end of March. It's in Nancy's chat. So we'll have to find out what she's talking about. It is coming, folks, and I don't think it'll be called Social Security. I think there'll be a complete name change, and it will increase, as we have been told. That is coming with Nasara, as it's the drip, drip, drip flood into the golden age. And you know what? Trump knows that we are hurting. And he, that's why it's at the top of his list. And that's why we keep talking about, she says crescendo, I say the climax of the movie. It's coming out. And the prosperity golden age, you, me, we the people of all nations are going to benefit from all these changes coming. It's not just about the United States. It's not just about Canada. It's about the world.
It is. That's the beautiful, beautiful part about it. I feel like this is kind of prepping us, even just this announcement, even though it's just for teachers, firefighters, and federal workers and such, that they said, well, for this last report, it said it will be showing up in March with the retroactive payment, and then April will be a higher monthly payment.
Oh, okay.
Readjust then at that point, from that point forward, those people will receive. And I agree with you, however, by that time, it may be a whole new financial system. Who knows? I'm not saying that, but just kind of.
Yeah. Well, I'm holding that vision because Q tells us March Madness. So what would be more madness than to see full exposure, to see the financial system change, to see the RV, if not before, we're right up against March. So please bring it on. And yes, Marianne was saying, look at your direct deposits in your bank accounts for that.
That definitely keep an eyeball on that. This is,
and if you don't have direct deposits, then if you're used to getting it in the mail, does anybody get their Social Security check in the mail? I don't. Mine's direct deposit. So yeah. And for people like Allison, single people trying to make it on their own, oh my goodness. That's a crime. That's just an absolute crime. Anyways, go ahead.
That it's kind of a funny crux there for me, because I did work for a company for several years, Southwestern Bell, when they still were around before it went AT&T. But I can't get that pension for a few more years. And then because I became a mother and decided to be an entrepreneur, I don't have as much that it's showing, so I'm not worried about it at all, though. It's all good. God is good. Very good.
Yes.
And this is all about, you had brought this to my attention. Do you want to cover this on the Verizon?
Sure. Thank you. So Elon Musk posted, to be clear here, the Verizon communication system to air traffic control is breaking down very rapidly. The FAA assessment is single-digit months to catastrophic failure, putting air traveler safety at serious risk. The Starlink terminals are being sent at no cost to the taxpayer on an emergency basis to restore air traffic control connectivity. The situation is extremely dire. Now, I think if you click on it, we'll be able to see how much. Thank you. You were on it. Okay. Oh, I appreciate that so much. Thank you for making it big. Okay, so where was I? And guess who is, okay, the FAA is on the verge of canceling Verizon's bloated $2.4 billion contract and handing it to Starlink, a move that would bring faster, safer, and more reliable air traffic control services. And guess who's furious? The establishment. They're shrieking about conflicts of interest because Trump and Elon are putting efficiency over corruption. That's their MO over on the lamestream media. They keep saying, oh, the billionaires. Please, wait till you see who's going to be arrested. So, Verizon system, outdated and expensive. Starlink, faster, cheaper, and proven. SpaceX engineers are already fixing the FAA's mess. The real conflict of interest is how the old system still exists. The grifters who let the United States infrastructure rot now cry foul when someone actually fixes it. Elon is right. Verizon is putting air travelers at risk, and Washington just hates that they're losing control. Wouldn't everyone who flies want to be protected and safe? Now, Mark Z did talk about that this morning. He says, it's always been there. It's always been happening. These airplane reports, it said, it's just that now it's in the light. And yet they've actually gone down in numbers recently, but it's been in the past trajectories of how many flights were having issues and crashes, etc. So this is a big, brave new move. And along with that, I think that President Trump's, remember in his first term, he ordered the new Air Force One, and he's cut down the price millions of dollars, and he landed a contract with them. Well, it's supposed to be delivered, and they keep putting off the date, 2006. I think that what's happening is Trump is no dummy. We are, especially people who've flown a lot like me, these methods of putting up these old archaic bodies, that the fuselage body, the airplane, they haven't been updated in decades. So not only is air travel likened to being on a crowded bus and very uncomfortable, really disgusting way to travel, which I have been protesting for a long time in my mind's eye. Why does it need to be so freaking uncomfortable to fly in a plane and such ridiculous measures put in? I think that what we're moving into, and many of you already believe this, is more efficient, advanced technologies, especially now that all these patents have been released, right? I think we're moving into perhaps President Trump have a couple of planes, and one being supersonic. then if any of you dig on that and find information for me, I would really appreciate it. Transporters. Years ago, gosh, at least over 5 years ago, I was looking up and researching an airport, I think on Maui, that was allowing transporters. They called it a transporter heliport stuff. I think that's what we're going to advance to in many of our personal transportation. I was all for flying cars over a decade ago. I started talking about wanting a flying car. A transporter would be so much quicker. So we'll see. I think air travel is way overdue for an overhaul. Boeing, bad, corrupt, in with the military, bad deals. So why wouldn't they want us to stay in discomfort, frustration, go through all the hoops to get through the TSA, well, all the machines, et cetera. It's so inefficient. It's mind-boggling that no one has undergone this. So I'm really looking forward to the advanced air travel and what it'll look like. It's going to be exciting. Okay, Miss Allison, where are we now?
We have this post that I think is really intriguing. It's a little, we'll see if we get through all of it. It's not, I mean, it's really interesting because this gentleman is he's the election integrity attorney, Dr. Corsi. He used to go to school with Trump way back when he was in his Wharton School of Business days. And he's going to explain a little bit more about the fraud that was committed in the 2020 election.
And this is Mr. Corsi.
Yes. Yes. So let's see what he has to say.
Now, Peter Tickton actually went to high school with Donald Trump, military school. They've known each other since 17 years old. And was Trump's personal attorney. Trump is entrusted to do this voter security, voter integrity examination. I've been working with him for the past few months. Because I started out about last summer when Andrew McCat, I got a paper where he had found algorithms in the New York State voter registration database. These algorithms permitted the creation of duplicate votes that were modified duplicates. Now, they're fictitious. And it's like a cryptographic code is how this is done. So they have my name, Jerome Corsi, and so I now end up with 4 records in the New York State database. They're all me, except that they have different ages and different places I've lived, which make them independent, separate records. They look like individual people, so they will each get a voter ID. And then the scheme, you can hide them back in the database, so only the criminals know where they are. They get algorithm identifier locations. So now you come into an election and you're the criminal inside, and this is in the Secretary of State's computer where the voter files and voter records are kept. The official computer with all the voters in it has codes. And these codes permit the creation of these fictitious voters, these doubles, these duplicates that are modified. And when you need more votes, they can be found in the database. They can vote a mail-in ballot that is counted and certifiable, even though the person doesn't exist. So to give an example of how it was done, we strongly suspect that in 2020, the battleground states, everybody stopped counting ballots in election night. And so as a political scientist, my PhD is in political science from Harvard. I got it in 1972. I've been studying voting data for decades. What you find is that in all of these elections, so you stop the counting and say, well, we're going to need 30,000 votes to win. So no problem. The criminals go in and find 30,000 duplicates. They're modified. They're all fake. They say in the computer, the fraud's in the computer. This person requests a mail-in ballot. Well, it's not mailed to them. You don't mail a ballot to somebody who doesn't exist. What you do is the computer prints it out. It's run through the tabulating machine. Now it counts because the number requesting it, the number printed on the ballot match. And the state never goes to see if that's a real person. Okay, and so when the voting starts again, the candidate the criminals want to win come on top and stay on top. Now, because we found these, we created a website which is called gods5stones.com after David and Goliath. That's G-O-D-S. There's no apostrophe. G-O-D-S. Spell out 5, F-I-V-E. And then stones is plural. Gods5stones.com. You can look it up right now on your computer. You can see it. Anybody finds it, let me know. And this has reports of about 10 states where we found these algorithms. I think they're in every single state. I've not looked yet at a state that they aren't there. So Georgia's not alone. But see, because we found these in really last year, 2023, started publicizing them, criminals knew we were onto the game. So the algorithms were not used in the presidential election in 2024. Georgia, as you saw, quit counting on election night and called in the election for President Trump. That's not what Georgia did in 2020.
Right.
The difference was we would have caught them this time because we had trained and alerted poll watchers for how the scheme looks. Suddenly, large groups of mail-in ballots appear, or they're requested. If you start checking who these mail-in ballots are, you find candidates of them, people don't exist. Just we heard people don't exist. Okay, so Georgia has over the voter file, the Secretary of State's office, about a little over 7 million voters in Georgia. 1 million of the records are duplicates. 1 million. 1 out of every 7 records in your voter rolls are illegal.
Yes. Oh, let me turn it down. You know, he and others have been exposing the voter corruption, and there's a really great video. What is that called? 2,000 Mules that Dinesh D'Souza put up. That was a really powerful video presentation of tracking and tracing the people who were acting like mules and going and stuffing ballot boxes. These people were questioned, and many of them confessed. Many of them were taken into custody. And so it's huge that we're, not only are we seeing the government corruption, but we are going to see how voter fraud through the machines is so easy to do. We've seen it. And if you haven't seen it, then what you may not know is that the presidents are selected. Obama was groomed from being a child to be the president of the United States. Saudi Arabia paid for his Harvard education. His birth certificate was uncovered and fraudulent. We've covered all that. We've talked about it. And so what more of a red pill could we have lived through than to watch on the screen of the televisions during the 2020 election how the numbers changed right in front of us. Donald Trump would have a lead, and then all of a sudden he wouldn't, and Joe Biden would pass him. They'd have the numbers on the screen. We watched it live because we weren't watching the lying media. We were watching Fox News. And as much as people can't stand Fox News, they were the ones who were showing us. And it was even shown on the screens of the lamestream media, but people were ignoring it because we saw those screenshots. That was so long ago. Gosh, that was 5 years ago or whatever, or 4 years ago. I don't know. It's all running amok, but that's got to come out along with the 9/11 truth that was an inside job. It's overwhelming. So how do you tell the public? You can't tell them. You have to show them. And that's what disclosure is all about. All right, Allison, what do you decide to move on to next?
Well, we have just a few more pieces. Really, at this point, we have, I think Ravenheart just brought it up. And we have the Gene Hackman's death announced, and it's exactly what she wrote in the chat. So let me get this straight. Gene Hackman, his wife, and their dog all died of natural causes at the exact same time. Okay. And this happened at the same time Pam Bondi announces that Epstein files are being released. Okay. I'm asking myself, has suicide weekend begun? Protective custody? Murder? Let's see what about it. Let's do this real quick.
This is a Fox News alert. I'm Marianne Rafferty, live in Los Angeles. Legendary actor, two-time Oscar winner and author Gene Hackman and his wife have died. They were found on Wednesday in their home in Santa Fe, New Mexico. The Santa Fe sheriff saying there's no immediate indication of foul play, but did not provide a cause of death or when the couple may have died. 95-year-old Hackman has lived in Santa Fe since the 1980s and married his wife, classical pianist Betsy Arakawa, in 1991. Hackman won numerous accolades, including 2 Academy Awards over the course of his long career. Among his many famous roles were Detective Jimmy Popeye Doyle in 1971's The French Connection, for which he won Oscar for Best Actor, and Sheriff Little Bill Daggett in the 1992 Clint Eastwood film Unforgiven, for which he won the Best Supporting Actor award. Hackman also played Clyde's brother Buck Barrow in 1967's Bonnie and Clyde, an FBI agent investigating the murder of civil rights activists in Mississippi Burning in 1988, and who could forget Lex Luthor in several Superman movies in the 1970s and 80s. Again, if you're just joining us, legendary actor and Oscar winner Gene Hackman has died. He was found dead along with his wife and their dog inside his Santa Fe, New Mexico home. The Santa Fe sheriff says there's no immediate indication of foul play, but an investigation is ongoing. Now,
Okay.
Sorry, it's just weird. It's just, I am so grateful that Spirit has allowed us to continue.
Yes. Well, Tammy says 2020, it's not over yet, like 107 says. Absolutely. And then also, Rich says, everyone talked about Epstein's Island, but no one is talking about the other celebrities who own their own islands. Epstein worked with Disney cruise ships to kidnap children from these cruise ships. And Marianne says, I think they will be talking. And then Rich said they had scuba diving hosted by Epstein for Disney's cruise ship visitors. And Marion says, I've heard that too. If we heard it already, I'm sure it will be released again. What a lot of people don't realize is that Bill Gates had an island in the San Juan Islands, and Gene Hackman had an island. And the list goes on about the private islands. And so why is that important? Because they could have submarines. And then they also, what a lot of people don't know is there are a lot of tunnels underneath the earth, underneath the ground. And so these tunnels make it easy to move children under these tunnels. Very, very easy, very quickly.
I think even Joe Biden's brother had an island too.
Oh, Marianne just said that, and Joe Biden Island too.
Oh, we're on the same wavelength, aren't we?
Oh, yeah. Bud says on YouTube from Fox, Hackman death deemed suspicious. Yeah, and a lot of these deaths they've already been dealt with, and so now it's either they go suicide so they don't have to face the wrath of exposure. Many of them have, and Phil reported a long time ago that Gavin Newsom, as Trump calls him, he opted out through suicide. So remember, when Trump says central casting, even Dana Perino was looking at the presidential cabinet meeting yesterday, which was phenomenal. That was so amazing. That's where he talked about the gold card for people to get into the country quicker if they've got a stellar reputation, they pass the background check. And he actually said in that conference, it could bring up to like 15 trillion. He used the word $15 trillion. So when he says we may be able to cut the debt this year, look at where it's all coming in from. So what my point was, Dana Perino, who is an ex-Bush White House press secretary, she said, oh, I was just, and these guys drop stuff for us all the time. She goes, oh, that briefing room looks a little bit different than when I was there. Maybe it's the lighting. It's a stage, right? It's a stage, and we can't get attached to everybody who we're seeing there. That's what I just keep saying. Do not get attached. This is a movie. This is the Great Awakening, and I'm all for going to whatever lengths it takes to expose the American people and the world.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. I not to correct you, but I think I could be wrong as well. But I because it was 55, it popped in my head as 5 by 5, because he said if there were, I don't know, X amount of $5 million cards purchased, that would be $55 trillion. I'm pretty sure he said 55, but regardless, that's a lot of that. Even 15 would be.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine that much.
Well, and the other thing is, so what does that mean to all of our migrant workers and other people who have been here? You know, what I don't like is how the mainstream media is saying, who's going to pick the food? You know, that's racist. To think that that's putting all of our Hispanic friends into the farm worker category. And so what I'm hoping, and let's all visualize and hold this together, is that we will see a plan for our beautiful Hispanic Mexican neighbors to be able to re-enter the country with a simpler, quicker system. So because we love all of our Hispanics, and I know people who they were banned from the US under Bush, under stupid little things, banned, like marijuana, having marijuana with them or whatever. And so it's dirty, it's ugly, and the Mexican people are very happy that Trump is in office, because they know he's helping to clean up the cartel, as you showed earlier in that video. So let's see it much easier. Aloha, Penny Q24, good to see you.
Well, we have the video from Eye of the Storm that you wanted to share on.
Oh, okay. Let me give a little bit of an intro for this. Thank you so much, Miss Allison. Okay, as you know, I'm loving News Treason Dave at the helm. He's so grounded, and he is a heart man, and he is amazing. And Eye of the Storm, I was listening to some guys that Stormy Patriot Joe wasn't on, and Rambo was, and he was saying he is the greatest anon that we have. Stormy Patriot Joe. And so Stormy and Paul Fleuer, they were talking. And I'm so grateful to him, because what he does is he'll post in his Telegram channel a video that they did, and then he'll give the timestamps and the titles. So the one that we're about to show is Snowden. That's the topic. So what could be Trump? What is the Trump card? Is it Snowden? Is Snowden going to be coming public? Because when Snowden, if you haven't watched the movie, please do, because you're missing out on a lot of information that was revealed in the film by Oliver Stone. Now, Snowden was the whistleblower from the United States who ended up going to Russia for sanctuary, because the United States politicians and government wanted to bring him back for trial. Well, what Snowden did was released all the information of what our dirty, dastardly government was doing, and they weren't showing us. They weren't telling us about it. And so released that video, Snowden, that came out, the documents came out, and everyone just seemed to go, oh my. Let's see, I got a tennis appointment today. They didn't pay attention. Snowden is the keystone to all of that he captured. And this is going to be huge. So if you're not into Q or Q drops, please try and pay attention, because the Q plan was started in October of 2017 with the first drop. And that has been our saving grace to know that there is a plan, that we are part of the plan. You're part of the plan. This is explosive. If Snowden makes his entrance, March Madness could be Snowden. That's just me saying, but I'll let these powerful anons tell you what they're thinking and looking at.
Now this one's pretty wild. Also by Kim Sachs. Really, really out of the box thinking, but I really like it. Okay. So not upper left, the bottom left, these are both truths by Trump today. And at the bottom, if these countries want to participate in the AI industrial revolution, it's time to choose sides with America, not against us. So AI industrial revolution is the key phrase there. Over here on the right, you got steel, aluminum, but copper industry, domestic production, built back by our copper industry, copper imports, copper industry, industries that depend on copper should be made in America, no exceptions. America jobs, creates and protects national security. Real key phrase here. That's why she underlined it. It's time for copper to come home. Okay. And here's where some of the out of the box thinking. So on the screen here, before we jump, is the key phrases is AI, copper, and time to come home. And let's see where she went with this. So on the upper left, what she's saying here is what is needed for AI is copper. Okay, so AI in its applications in the electric grid, it's used with copper for AI applications. So she's connecting what Trump is saying about AI and copper together. And then remember where it said it's time to bring copper home. Okay, well, the person most connected with the whole AI and different things like that and building algorithms and things of that nature in the queues is Snowden. So Q3024, it's talking about how to get Snowden back to the United States, and in the bottom there in capitals, what do you have left to sell in Russia to retain your safety and security? Some things that was also in that truth about Trump talking about security, but welcome home Snowden, just kind of like time to bring copper home. So, we've theorized that it's almost time for Snowden to be in our news cycles, and it's getting a lot closer, in my opinion. Right here in the middle, Glenn Greenwald is mentioned in the queues a bunch. Okay, he's a great. I think he's a good journalist, and he's talking about what? Oh, today looks like he's having lunch with Snowden. Okay, and he's calling him a whistleblower. Things that you saw with Tulsi Gabbard that also kind of injected Snowden back in the news, was asking all those questions nonstop to Tulsi's confirmation. So that was another signal to me that we're getting closer to having Snowden back in the States, probably on public TV, doing, whistleblowing, getting questions and answers done with him. I think it's a little bit of a clue because Q point, now I'm not just pulling this out of nowhere. In the pictures that Q puts up, the foot arrangements sometimes are clues to look for, and he seems to be stepping on a copper leaf. Okay, so that's another clue there in the middle. But just him happen to have lunch today with Greenwald, who's in the queues heavily, pretty signally to us that it's almost Snowden time. Okay, and then over on the right, just at Snowden, February 18th, 2018, Q790. Where are you? Like he's over there. Says not Russia in this particular queue, and then getting into some other projects, Project Deep Dream, things of that nature. Is talking about his mentor, John Perry Barlow, and 3/16. Maybe that's a date. Maybe March 16th is when we get some more Snowden news. It would make sense, after the State of the Union address on the 4th, a week or two to talk about that, and then maybe he shows up for some whistleblower stuff. We'll see. Bottom right is, in my opinion, the most important cue about Snowden. Again, it's going off the Delta, so kind of think of where we are with this timetable. We got Snowden hitting these comms. He's having lunch with somebody mentioned in the queues. And now we have the State of the Union on the 4th, March 4th. And then this bottom queue is Q 3021, March 11th, okay, at Snowden. And basically what this queue is all about is, how do you want to play this? You want us to come get you and haul you in here and you go to Gitmo and you're in restraints? Or do you want to play ball, be a whistleblower, and you'll be celebrated with parades? And there was some back and forth with Q at the time with Snowden, and he was answering Q in real time on his tweets and certain things that he did with LifeLog and all these different things. We took that as, obviously, you accept the offer and you go with parades and in a future, and that's where I think it's going with Snowden.
Yeah, I like your take pre-show that when we see either Snowden or Assange or both of them back in the public light over here, that it means we're going to be pretty close to go time for shit seriously hitting the fan. I totally agree with you on that, by the way.
Yeah, the chain of events that Abs and I were talking about pre-show is you got to get Snowden over here, and it's gonna build towards Assange, and that's gonna build towards Seth Rich, and that's gonna build towards laptops and different things that show that everything about Russia was completely made up. So it all snowballs from Snowden. Okay, thank you.
It all snowballs with Snowden. And I will let Marianne say what she believes. Phil is Elon. Snowden is Phil. Am I making sense now? I have been a Phil follower and watched every single one of his podcasts since he started. Is he Edward Snowden? And was he always back in America? And that Snowden person who would show up on those teleconferences, etc., was that an actor or AI? Why would he show himself if he was so afraid, right? And so this is a very exciting part of the crescendo of information. And Seth Rich, don't think he died. Who was he? And also Julian Assange, because when you're over the target, they want to take you in, arrest you, hold hearings, instead of looking at the dirty deeds that the government has been covering up forever. So it's super exciting. Aloha, Brian. He's just chiming in, and everyone. So good to see you. Are you guys excited to finally see these amazing intelligence people coming out of the woodwork, the WikiLeaks and all of that? This is the most amazing time to be alive. So with that, we're going to move into hearing from Woody Harrelson and what he has to say. Thank you, Allison.
As a left-leaning hippie Texan, maybe it is in my nature to be somewhat rebellious, but I can't help but wonder, in spite of all of the criticism Bobby Kennedy Jr. received for encouraging us to be somewhat skeptical about these rushed COVID vaccines, what if he was right?
Choo choo, the Trump train is coming in, and it's coming with handcuffs and perp walks. Cannot wait. All right, Miss Allison, I think that, but by the way, if you don't know, Woody Harrelson's dad worked for the FBI or CIA, one of those, and I still haven't gotten to his podcast that he did with Joe Rogan. That is Woody Harrelson and Joe Rogan. Apparently it's 2 or 3 hours long. I would love to watch that and hear these brilliant minds talking about it. What Woody knew, right? Like, hello. And, we've heard that there are whistleblowers from the Rothschilds families and the Rockefeller families and these elite families. We don't have problem against people building wealth. But the wealth they built was on the backs of human beings all over the globe. So, yes, I'm grateful that the grandchildren have come out. Russell Brand is another one, supposedly, who was linked to that family. So, expose away. Keep it coming. It's hard to keep up. But what do you have for us next, Miss Allison?
This is really cool to me because this is actually from CNBC saying FDA cancels vaccine advisory meeting for choosing flu strains for next season's shots. What? They're actually reporting something like that?
And in the Q drop, it said 6 years ago in the drop that the MSNB or the mainstream media will be gone. And so this is the beginning. They've got just a thread of credibility left, not in my book, but for some others. And it's like pulling that loose thread and watching it all come down. And the capitulation of turning and starting to show this is huge, like Allison is saying.
So. It is. It says a March meeting of vaccine advisors to the Food and Drug Administration has been canceled without explanation. A member of the advisory panel told CNBC. It comes as Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a vaccine skeptic who now leads the Department of Health and Human Services, makes early moves that could affect vaccination uptake and the policy in the U.S. The meeting in the Vaccines and Related Biological Products Advisory Committee, or whatever, is held every March to pick the select flu strains for shots released in the upcoming fall and winter. I mean, how did they even know how to,
Hey, pardon me, Allison. You know what? On my Rumble screen, it's not showing the documents. And Marianne brought that up. If you have a different screen that you're looking at, isn't that weird? We're seeing it on our screen, but they're not seeing it on their screen.
There's Pam Bondi?
No. I see you too, but no article. So I have another couple of Rumble screens up and it's not showing the article. So guys, we don't know what's going on. We can see it here. So I don't know. I don't know what to say. I refreshed it and it didn't do anything. Let me try it again now. Nope, still not showing up. So our apologies. This is just, okay. She said we can listen fine. Go ahead. Carry on, please.
Then I will go on to the next article because it's pretty exciting. It's not an article. It is an article, but it's a post rather. Very good information.
Roll back.
On Liz Churchill says we need a rest now, which I obviously agree. It felt like a spy movie. Dr. Thompson fully admitted that he and the CDC covered up the fact that the MMR vaccine causes autism-like symptoms and that he was ashamed for covering it up. So this is just a brief little clip we'll play. I apologize y'all can't see it, but let's give it a whirl.
Roll back in the time machine to August of 2014. That is when Bill Thompson made the admission that the CDC had lied and hid the fact that the MMR vaccine was associated with autism. Talking with Thompson as it unfolded felt like a spy movie. It led me to secretly record phone conversations with Dr. William Thompson, which I did in the state of Oregon because it's illegal to secretly record phone conversations in the state of California. Dr. Thompson freely admitted that he had covered it up and his associates at the CDC had also covered it up.
Thimerosal causes autism-like features, and that's the way I would say it. I'm completely ashamed of what I did. The higher-ups wanted to do certain things, and I went along with it. Colleen is a center director. Frank is the director of immunization safety and Marcelin's the branch chief. They're still all much more senior than me.
Dr. Julie Gerberding was head of the CDC at the time. Coincidentally, she went on to a lucrative career at Merck, the manufacturer of the MMR vaccine.
I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe we did what we did. But we did.
There you go. It's coming out. And you know what Bud said? I noticed that coverage on vax commercials on television stopped about 6 weeks ago. Yeah, you know what they're running now? That Trump is going to take away social Medicare from everyone and stuff like that. More fear porn coming out of that press. And it's really sad because one of our followers, I apologize. Did you want to speak to that while I pull this up to read?
Only I was just going to say that it's an odd situation we have with the stuff we're doing here on the screen. It showed up again. It reappeared. So I think I have figured out how I need to do it. Maybe the article just didn't show because it wasn't on the way that video was. So I'll just let you go ahead. I'm just talking techie.
Okay, our beautiful Carlita just, pardon me, shared a post that she saw from a loved one. And it's from someone, I'm not even going to name the name. It says, a few daily reminders. 1, abortion is healthcare. 2, trans rights are human rights. 3, science is real. 4, Black Lives Matter. 5, everybody uses pronouns. 6, consent to sex is not consent to pregnancy. 7, blue lives don't exist. 8, love is love. 9, vaccines don't cause autism. Can you believe that? Holy moly.
No.
Ooh.
That made my skin crawl.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
So when people are posting like this, what it shows us is how important the Great Awakening is, because they have been brainwashed into thinking the opposite of what, well, not even the opposite. It's just like bullshit. It's pure bullshit what they're putting out there. Pardon me. Well, Penny Q put it nicer. She said, this is crazy talk. That's what they think and say. And it's so heartbreaking. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just from one end of the universe. It's antithetical, completely not even close to reality. And that's why, again, as you said earlier, the people have to be shown. You can't just tell them. They're too programmed and have their blinders on and aren't, la 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 la. They're not even going to be able to hear it. It's sad, but it's true. One more little clip I have here. I actually think this is our last one on, and I think this is important because this was in front of the House Judiciary Committee on the mRNA vaccines. Now, let me see if y'all can see. No, you can't see it. Once we get off the screen, let me do this.
Okay.
Try this and see if that'll help.
Including cardiac arrest. My name is Christine Drivdahl Smith, DRIVDAHL-SMITH. I am a family physician in Miles City. I have no conflict of interest. I am a volunteer board member of the Montana Medical Freedom Alliance. Gene-based vaccines, or mRNA vaccines, are the most destructive and lethal medical products that have ever been used in human history. I'm asking you to support this bill banning gene-based vaccines so that we can halt continued harm, disability, and death of our citizens. Gene-based vaccines include the COVID-19 shots, and there is one other RSV shot that was approved for this past year for older adults. There are ongoing trials for influenza and bird flu, and there are dozens more in development. The COVID shots were rolled out just over 4 years ago under Emergency Use Authorization, or EUA. This has been renewed multiple times. The last renewal was in December of 2024 and extended the EUA until 2029, which also extends the liability protections. Under EUA, the FDA may allow use of unapproved medical products, including experimental products. Further, the regulatory procedures do not apply to the EUA products, which explains why the FDA has not withdrawn these dangerous vaccines. By the end of 2024, there was over 38,000 deaths reported to the VAERS system, with a known underreporting factor of 31 to as much as 100. There are over 3,400 peer-reviewed studies in the medical literature describing injury from these vaccines, including cardiac arrest, myocarditis, blood clots, immune suppression, autoimmune disorders, cancers, neurological disorders, prion-induced disease, pregnancy harms, and miscarriage. Every highly vaccinated country has had a significant increase in all-cause mortality, a decrease in life expectancy, and a decrease in fertility. These vaccines do not prevent disease or transmission. In fact, the more shots one receives, the more likely they are to get COVID. Over a year ago, it was discovered that the COVID shots are contaminated with DNA. This has now been confirmed by multiple labs around the world. The amount exceeds the regulatory limits by as much as 400 times. The presence of this genetic material increases the risk of cancer in the recipient. And this foreign genetic material has now been found within dividing human cells in a petri dish and in colon cancer biopsies. These mRNA vaccines, like other gene therapy medical products, can be shed to others via blood, body fluids, excrement, and airborne exosomes. Studies have now confirmed that these products are shedding to others and that those exposed via shedding can experience adverse reactions. As you can see, there are no benefits and only the potential for harm. And yet, 23% of Americans continue to receive boosters. The American College of OB-GYN continues to recommend COVID shots to pregnant patients. And the CDC has added the COVID shots to the pediatric vaccine schedule starting at 6 months of age. There have been ever-increasing calls for an immediate ban by professional groups all across the globe. 5 states' attorneys general have filed a suit against Pfizer for misrepresenting the effectiveness of the COVID shots. And just last week, citizens filed a petition with the FDA to remove these products because the DNA contamination was not revealed to the regulators. The drug companies, the regulators, the federal government have failed to act. We all know that the hands of justice move slowly. Time is of the essence. I've spent over half of my medical career in emergency medicine. And during a trauma code, the most important thing is to stop the bleeding. So I'm asking all of you to use common sense and Montana let's get this done attitude. We must ban gene-based vaccines in Montana.
I'm pushing buttons at the same time as Allison is. You know, we couldn't have heard it better. And for those of you who follow Judy Mikovits, whistleblower for the NIH, on Dr. Fauci, or Dr. Tenpenny, who's never been vaccinated in her life, it goes along with saying what Marianne said. Pardon me, let me just pull this thread up. Human beings and animals existed for thousands of years without them. She's talking about vaccines. We never needed our pets, never needed them. We never needed them and our pets didn't. They are not in our future along with the other toxic garbage. Amen, hallelujah. And then she said she had a little cat. Her top weight was 6 pounds. The first vax made her sick and I never got shots again. She lived 17 years. And the vet kept saying, she is so old for her breed. That's the truth about humans and animals, that we would live longer if we didn't have those. And of course, all the other toxic chemicals put in the critter food and human food, etc. As she says, it's all about the money. They get paid. Oops. They get paid for the meds. Your pets die. Your pet dies. You get a new pet. They make more money. Yes, and now they have insurance on pets. Rita says, our cat lived 19 years, no vaccines. And then Marianne said, I lost another one at 21 years old this last summer. My heart goes out to you. Yeah, we have a Great Pyrenees dog, grand dog, and he just pulled a muscle, and it's going to cost like $9,000 to have surgery for this dog. And, that happens. We need good surgeons for when we need to help them, or med beds for the animals, right? We all want to know when med beds are coming in with advanced technologies to repair us. And Mark keeps saying that he's been hearing it'll be months after we, no dates. We don't have any dates. We just keep praying that in. And Penny Q24 says, glorious days ahead. Yes, med beds will be a thing. So if you're a current employee of the hospital, big pharma corporations, then you could be retrained into a different area where you can be able to use advanced technologies. They've been doing med bed trainings, and I've heard that we'll have an opportunity to possibly open a med bed center with some of our prosperity funds that will be coming to us, and then they will train professionals, to be able to manage those med beds. It's not just a simple process to go through. You need experts who are professionals, who are employed and hired because they are the one who is qualified to do that training and that job. Yeah, healing, Penny Q says, healing and extending life care. So people don't realize we're supposed to naturally live for hundreds of years in good health with good skin. Oh, I can't wait. Allison has I think it's Allison, a health video to share with you. It's very short.
X39 has really changed my life. I'm not stuck at home in pain and in bed. I'm out here with my friends and enjoying my family.
Big thank you to Lifeway for helping me, helping my family, and helping the 100 people now in our team who are using Lifeway daily and their families. Big thank you. Love the products.
And I have energy through the roof.
I sleep better. I have so much more energy.
Throughout the day, I can focus better. I can concentrate in my work.
Our church worship service lasts 45 minutes. For the last 2 years, I've not been able to stand that long. 2.5 weeks into wearing the X39 patch, the pastor said, you can now be seated. It dawned on me at that moment that, my goodness, I've been standing this whole time, didn't realize it.
After starting using the technology for approximately 2 weeks, my pain completely disappeared.
32 years of pain gone in 3 days.
I just love the products. They just help me to feel younger and younger year after year.
Thank God for X39.
My skin become younger, softer, firmer.
It's been really amazing.
I love X39 because it really helped reduce the inflammation in my knee. I can now run again. Woohoo!
Well, what I want to say about the X39 patches is they are incredible. They work. They have microscopic crystalline in the patches, so there's no adhesive, toxic adhesives. It's non-transdermal, so it's not like you're putting a medication in your body. They work with the light of your crystalline body, which heats it up and gives amazing results that we have experienced. I do know a man who was in a horrific automobile accident couple of months ago. And so I'm about to send him some X39 and IceWave for pain. And please say your prayers for him and everyone who is in need of taking some steps to take personal responsibility for the condition of our health. You know, I'm a big fan of Isogenics, X patches, root products. There's so many more, plus good healthy supplements. There's nothing that we can do more than get off the toxic additives that are in, like potato chips or Doritos. I mean, it's so many. We've covered this tirelessly in one of the episodes on GMO, non-GMO, organic versus regular. And that's a whole nother industry that needs to be cleaned up, organic. So we're looking at, oh, Marianne said she's using her patches right now and her husband too. That's awesome. And yeah, it's incredible. It's an absolute miracle to start tuning in with advanced technologies that we can purchase right here, right now, rather than waiting on hope for the med beds. Of course, we have hope, but we need to start changing our diets on our own. And I've got my isogenic shake here. It kind of makes my voice go a little funky sometimes. We're going to wrap it up. Allison, did you want to say anything as we get ready, as I go into my closing?
I just want to thank everybody for your patience with our technical challenges today. It's just amazing how spirit works around different things. And I will be putting all the links in the description. If you didn't get to see something and wanted to, then that will be there. And again, thank you for all your generosity, everyone. We love you, and we will see you next Tuesday, unless we have something sooner.
Well, and you may not be home this weekend because you're gonna go visit your lovies, your grandbabies.
Yes, I get to go see my grandson's first T-ball game of the season. So yeah.
Awesome. Have fun. Thank you, Miss Allison, so much. So I've been talking about the Prosperity Playground for a long time. And what the Prosperity Playground is a place where we do the inner healing, clean up the victimization, trauma that we've experienced, either currently or in the past, so that we can open our minds. Our mind is like a parachute. It only works when it's open. So rather than getting all caught up in being angry and pissed off, of course, that's a natural reaction as you're seeing the exposure, to come back to center and remember that you are a powerful and prosperous person, and you deserve the peace on earth that is happening now. The nations around the world are meeting with Trump. They're so excited that somebody is actually cleaning up the corruption because, like I said, this isn't about us. This is about the world. This is about peace and prosperity for all humans. And those who may be less fortunate than others can share their prosperity without expectation of anything in return. As we enter into this golden age and the RV, whenever we see that land, hopefully it's over the weekend, then we can use our resources to help others while they're waking up. Because a lot of people are really afraid that Doge and Trump are taking away all these jobs. They're taking away the corruption. They're offering severance packages. They are providing a safe landing for the golden age to have that ripple effect into all of our lives. And I've heard a couple people have already received a Doge check. However, until somebody can show me some proof or evidence, I am just expecting the miracle of all of us receiving something to help bridge the gap until, the complete Jasara is released. This is the greatest time to be alive. Thank you, Tammy. She says, have a wonderful day, ladies. Thank you for the info. We're really grateful that you're here because it's not an easy thing to do. It's not easy at all. I'm a mermaid. My toes need to be in the sand, and I put all of that on hold to do the deep dive and research these last 5 years. Why would I want to go back to Hawaii when my beautiful friends are asleep? Primarily, most of them are asleep. And if you're one of those friends, please know that you know me, you know my heart, and hopefully you will trust. And when you see the great exposure happening, just like the media starting to change their reporting, they're getting rid of people. It's going to be alternative media. The White House is bringing in really successful podcasters who've been reporting the truth. I hope Mark Z gets to be in the White House. Yet it's a bit of a travel challenge, especially with his wheelchair. This is the golden age of peace, prosperity, and love on earth. So if you haven't believed in a power greater than yourself, it might be time to open up and ask that question that I asked how many years ago, 37 years ago. If there is a God, please help save my son, as we sat next to his bed in Children's Orthopedic Hospital for 5 days. And my life has been forever changed. And I love hearing people share their stories of their first spiritual awakening. And ever since that moment, there's been a divine presence that I hadn't felt before that. Yes, part of it was getting rid of the drugs and the cocaine and all the whatever I did. And the other part was asking. If we don't ask, we don't get that presence within us and around us. Because I believe the golden elixir that Marianne Williamson used to use in her meditations, when she would say, imagine the golden elixir coming down through your crown chakra, permeating your body. This is the Christ consciousness of elixir. A lot of people don't know what Christ consciousness is, and it's embodying the peace and the presence of what we have, the power within us to co-create, to know things, to be guided in ways that we couldn't have imagined when we had the cotton in our ears. The Great Awakening is about taking the cotton out of our ears and putting it in our mouth until we can do the research to know the truth about everything. This is the biggest undertaking of cleaning up corruption in the history of humanity. And in order for us to carry that on for 1,000 years, we need to teach our children and educate our children on the truth about the evil ones who walk the earth. And I didn't used to use that word evil. These people practice Satanism. They practice, as Roseanne Barr says, she worked in Hollywood, and she said, they're vampires. And that sounds so over the top until you hear the whistleblowers and the children, the survivors who came out and told the truth and said, this is what we had to go through. This is what we witnessed. This is what we saw. And so it's time for all of us to, in whatever way you do, pray, ask, and stand behind the courageous people who are telling and exposing the truth. It couldn't have been done any other way. This slow rollout is so that we can have a harmonious reunion, and you will be needed to hug, to hold, and to comfort our friends who we call asleep. So please, if you're a friend of mine and you have been thinking that I've gone over the top and you're waking up, you want to call me, you know my number. I love you. I don't hold you responsible for what the media has done. And yet responsibility is a power tool. Once we know the truth, then we need to be responsible for ourselves and then our families and our communities. People are I see the future of the healing is bringing peoples back into healthy families and communities again, reuniting us. And even though we don't need to be vindicated, you will be vindicated. That's That's an assurance. And those who never wake up, I don't know who those people might be that will never wake up. Yet, what a lonely life to be in the small, the majority of the people on earth are expecting and anticipating the great awakening and the reveal, and they want to see justice. So thank you for being here. We love you. You're a powerful creator. Create a prosperous and peaceful day. We'll see you on Tuesday, if not before. Have a great weekend and get ready. When we talk next Tuesday, it'll be March Madness in complete, all of its glory happening. I don't know what it'll look like, but I'll just keep breathing. And thank you, Allison. You're amazing. I really appreciate you. And I do appreciate the donations to help her, because she's just like anyone else who, everything shifted. And we found ourselves in a very unusual foreign territory, which is that our families were asleep. They don't have time to look at what we have. And so at some point, the world may come to a stop to observe an EBS and the videos that are going to educate everyone on the truth about JFK, MLK, RFK, Snowden, Assange. We can't wait another minute. Sometimes it feels like that. And so we breathe. I love you. Create a peaceful day. Aloha. I hope you enjoyed today's show. You can find me at nancykerner.com on social media. And remember the truth about you. You are a powerful and prosperous person.